Remember the same time last year and what we were talking about? Yeah, we couldn't really think much about personnel-wise for the New Orleans Saints because we were still a month away from finding out who the next coach would be. Fast forward back to the now, and not only does it seem like the right choice that coach was made for this team, but with Kellen Moore, but that the Saints with Tyler Shough very well could be set at quarterback for the foreseeable future. What positions and potential players could be best suited to work with Shough going forward, both in free agency and in the 2026 NFL draft? Did GM Mickey Loomis tip his hand with what they were thinking? We'll also talk about the progress of Lane Kiffin and LSU in the portal, the NFL playoffs, and yes, the Pelicans. It's always fun when WWL-TV sports director Doug Mouton is here. So let's call it a Dattitude Carnival. So buckle in while I press this doohickey here. Which one is? Oh, it's this one. Oh, yeah, this doohickey. And we start the show.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where you at, Dattitude family? Isn't it nice not to be on the coaching carousel this year? I mean, all the firings that we're going to get to some things early on in this show before Doug comes on about coaching odds. I think Gabe and I might talk about it as well. But aren't you glad that the Saints are not in the middle of all that coaching nonsense, the firings, the hirings? That's where we were last year at this time. We were part of all that mess. And, you know, the year before that, you were hoping the Saints would fire their coach, and they didn't. So it seems like, you don't ever want to be one of those teams because it means you're not very good, or you're in transition, or you should have been good and you weren't, and whatever it means. You know what it means here? It means that this is Dattitude, episode number 463, presented by Evangeline Securities for a Wednesday, January the 14th. Moving right along. January the 14th, 2026. I'm your host, Jim Derry. You know that. As we move on this morning, we're going to have a lot of fun. You know what is special about our show today and every day is that you talk to us and we talk back to you. You type in your comments, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or even X. If you're watching the show on X right now live, type in something to us. Type in a comment so we know that you're alive. The X crowd, I think we've gotten like two total comments from X since we started going to X, in November or whatever. And one of them was Gabe just testing it. That's where we are right now. So anyway, if you're watching on X, give us a shout out. And if you are watching on X or Facebook, come over to the YouTube page. That's where the Dattitude family lives, as my Bluetooth speaker decided out of the blue that she wants to talk to me this morning. I hope you want to talk to me. You're listening after the fact and you want to talk to me. You can find me on X at Jim Derry Jr., via email, jim@jimderry.com. Again, subscribe and like. All right, what is on today's show? You can see it. Doug Mouton is going to come on. Always fun when he comes on. We always have, he's one of the, between he and Mike Detillier, I always go into those conversations thinking that it's going to be like, 30, maybe 40 minutes, and it ends up being an hour. So we'll see where it leads us this morning. Doug, always fun. I went on his show last week, and I never did. Now that I think about it, I never did put that link up, but that was so much fun. We had so much fun doing that show. I'm sure I will be on again before too long. I'm glad that I finally got a chance to do it. Every time he's asked me before last week, I just wasn't able to. He'd asked me multiple times before. It just didn't work out. So finally it did. I was on with he and Ross Jackson on the WWL. I can't remember the name. It's New Orleans. I don't, the way they do it with their theme stuff, and they have boil water advisory segment, where what should you be worried about? In the end, they have last call with it. Ross actually makes an alcoholic beverage, whatever the beverage du jour was. And then last week it was a ginger margarita. It was outstanding. And so we drink the margarita and give our final take. And so, maybe we'll come up with something along those lines as we go forward, because we're going to have a lot of fun. All right. Again, in this show, all kinds of things. Again, Saints coming up. That's going to take up we'll probably spend about 50, 60% of the show talking about the Saints today, maybe even a little more than that. We're going to talk about LSU and Lane Kiffin and what they've done in the portal thus far. And obviously, I know that they have their quarterback in Sam Levitt. We're going to kind of review what we talked about on Monday. I'm going to ask Doug what he thinks. We are going to talk about the NFL playoffs. Yes, playoffs. And we're going to give you the odds and what it looks like, what they look like right now, and maybe some early thoughts. I don't know. I don't want to give too much away. Pick'em show is coming up Friday, and you want to talk about trying to make up for some bad picks. I mean, I'm not ashamed to say, no, I'm not doing musical references like I do my and I'm not ashamed to say the Wild Boys are my friend. No, I'm not ashamed to say that we stunk up the joint last week. I'll just tell you straight up. So hopefully we can turn it around this week, but it was pretty bad. So I'll tell you how bad it was on Friday. I don't have the heart to do it today. So anyway, that's coming up on Friday, but we may leak a few of our thoughts. Leak a few of our thoughts today. And since we saw you last, what has happened? Mike Tomlin and the Steelers parted way. Was that similar to John Harbaugh, where it was basically a firing, but we're going to call it a parting of the ways? It doesn't really matter because Mike Tomlin is a free agent now. Is he going to be a coach in this coaching cycle? And I'm going to go through some of the odds, okay? And the odds, I'm just going to say this. Whenever the odds get taken down briefly, which happens often when you're talking about coach of the year or whatever, it usually means that somebody's about to get a job. And I will say that this morning when I woke up and I started, working on some graphics and working on what we're going to do in today's show, I was going to type up the odds from DraftKings, and they were all in there this morning. I started going through them and looking at them and not really, only half paying attention. I'm like, I got too much to do. I'll come back to this. When I went back to it, about a half an hour ago, they were all gone. All the coaching odds were gone, which usually means that something is going to happen. Okay. So I had to go to OddsShark, which I do use sometimes. So I'm going to give out the coaching odds in a minute, and we're going to talk about all the different spots. Obviously, this group here is going to wonder about what are the Falcons odds. Those are the ones they're going to give you first. But before we get to that, and before we get to our comments this morning, let me tell you about our friends at Evangeline Securities. Of course, you know this. I know if you're a regular, you know this, but you might not be a regular. You might not know. You need a refresher. They're a company that can help you decide if it's the right time to sell your family-run or privately held business. And just as importantly, they can figure out what that business is worth. If that's you, if it's someone you know, it's time to reach out to Evangeline's founding partner, Nick Braden. He will start by scheduling a complimentary valuation from his office, either on Poydras Street or in Lafayette. And from there, you will be well informed and begin to make the decision on if you want to proceed. Maybe it's time to retire. Maybe you just had enough. Maybe, I've had this business for 10 or 15 years and I'm ready to sell. I'm ready to do something else. What is my business worth? Is it worth selling? Evangeline Securities. We'll fill you in more later in the show. In the meantime, you can check them out at www.evangelinesecurities.com. And oh yeah, what about my friend Joe DiStefano? You see there at the bottom right portion of the screen. Get a small company. You're not wanting to get out. You want to stay in. You got a small company. You need insurance for your personnel. Joe D. He's the one to go to. I'm going to tell you about him right now. If you own a small business of fewer than 20 employees, you know how tough it is to get the best rates on health insurance. That's why you want to call Joe DiStefano Insurance. Joe and I have known each other for almost 40 years. I can tell you that he's someone that I trust. Look, health insurance shouldn't be one size fits all. And with Joe DiStefano, you get access to PPO networks and flexible plans designed to fit you, not just a cookie cutter mold. Joe's licensed, he's local, but he can help you no matter where you live and operate. From preventative care to peace of mind, we'll tailor a plan that works for your life today and tomorrow. Call Joe DiStefano at 504-234-2132 to protect what matters most. All righty. Protect what matters most. Absolutely. Call my friend Joe DiStefano, 504-234-2132. 504-234-2132. All right, let's get to some of the comments. I want to shout out to the wifey who's, I don't know if she's got the show on or not. She watches a lot lately, apparently, and I didn't even know she's well. Good thing good thing I'm not say anything bad. Not that I would say anything bad anyway. Our anniversary is coming up, by the way. 2 more weeks. Can you believe someone has been married to me for almost 18 years? Think about that. That's almost, if you're born on February the 1st, 2008, you're 2 weeks away from being an adult. My wife, she actually, not only did she marry me, it's now almost 18 years. So shout out to her. She is driving to Panama City with my mother-in-law, bringing her back home, and coming right back. God bless her. All right, who we got in the chat? We got a lot of comments. We got a lot of comments. And I just noticed that we had trouble with Facebook. Can you, Gabe, I don't know if you can check this out before I get to some of the comments here, because I know a lot of people are watching on Facebook. Can you see that note there? If you can, okay, there's a note that says we may have trouble streaming to Facebook. Can you just look and see if you can try to resume it? If you can't, you can't, and I'll just put the show up later. So I apologize if you're watching on Facebook. That's a good reason to come over to YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook and we disappeared, I don't know what happened. I just got a message that said, Gabe, at the top right there is the 3 icons, and it's got an exclamation point next to Facebook. Maybe you can just check on that and see if you can figure out how to fix it. If you can't, again, we'll just put the show up later on Facebook, and we apologize. All right, Christopher Crump is here. Happy hump day, every hump day. He loves it when Doug comes on. Such a good show. We do always have fun with Doug for sure. Chad Gage, good morning. Hope everyone is enjoying this weather. It is perfect, man. It is right up my alley. I just looked. It was like about 53 degrees. Beautiful. Mark Gapsky, good morning. 99 days to the NFL draft. Free agency starts at 56 days. What will the Saints do? Lots to think about. Let's see. Charles Mangus is here. Good morning. It's hump day. Gabe, your Texans brought that belt. Oh, Lord. I hate that stupid. When did that actually became a thing not too long ago now? The belt to the ass. The dumb to the brain. That is just a really stupid. I mean, we got a lot of stupid phrases. That's a dumb one. Nothing against you, Charles. I bring this up. I actually meant to bring this up before because I don't know why it bothers. Like, I'm quirky, like a lot of other people. Certain things, that one bothers me. I have no idea why. Belt to ass. When did that become a thing? I mean, that really shouldn't be a thing in this day. And you know how we're so politically correct about everything. I mean, that's not really. I mean, not really. Nobody puts belt to ass anymore. I mean, when's the last time somebody whipped their kid? Well, I mean, somebody that's not a D-bag. When's the last time someone not a D-bag whipped someone's ass with a belt? Adrian Peterson does. All right, Gabe. You're not supposed to do that anymore. I know some people still do. And I mean, I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't say that I didn't, give a little slap to the bottom, but it's probably been, I mean, my youngest is going to be 10 next month. I probably even haven't thought about actually spanking a butt in 7 years. It's been a while. People do. Anyway, it's just a stupid phrase. Stop it. Brian Esteve, good morning. When should we expect to hear updates on Cam, DeMario, Alvin Kamara, and Taysom, February, March? What are the odds on Coach? It's coming. Atlanta, we're getting to it in the morning. We're getting to it. Doug's coming on in just 5 minutes. I'm going to try to get to him as much as I can, but I want to talk to y'all first. If I don't get to the coaching odds before we get to Doug, I'll probably bring them up with Doug, but Gabe and I certainly are going to talk about him. And answer to your questions about Cam, DeMario, Alvin Kamara, and Taysom, I'll ask Doug what he thinks, but at least a month. That's at least a month away, probably a little bit more than that. One Smoke is here. Good morning. Gabe was right about the Texans, blew out the Steelers. What a mess. What a mess. What a mess. Who's going to be the coach of the Steelers? They have only had, I'm old, okay? The Steelers have only had 3 coaches since I was 1 year old. I mean, that's insane if you think about it. They've had 3 coaches since I was 1. They've only had 2 since Gabe's been alive. That's insane. Oh, man. Good morning, Jerry. How are you? Welcome. Randall. Doug Mouton he's taking a picture in the green room, by the way. Randall says Doug is one of his all-time favorites. Randall? Yeah. I won't mess with him when it comes on. I'm not going to mess with him before he comes on. He might not come on. Al Sherman. Good morning, Dattitudinals. $3 to $4 million for a left tackle in college. Yep. UBN says I skipped his comment. I didn't notice your comment. Sorry if I did. I didn't mean to. Hakeem, big dog, what's going on? Who else we got here? I'd say I didn't skip over it. I never got to it yet. He will never get tired of. I'm not sure. I'm behind, so I'm not sure exactly what he's never going to get tired of. Not belt to ass. I'm tired of that. I was tired of that the second time I heard it. Just like the Saints fans will never stop mentioning 28-3. You're right. We're not. I mean, you can never get tired of mentioning belt to ass. I'm just saying. I mean, belt to ass. See, you got me all messed up. That's what. Anyway, breaking news. We talked about this a little bit Monday, that it was a possibility. I don't get it, but okay. Husan Longstreet, former quarterback now of USC, is headed to LSU, says Matt Zenitz of CBS. Another quarterback. Wow. I mean, look, just go sign 8 of them. Who cares? I mean, you went from having none, now you got tons of them. Wow. So, yeah, there you go. Breaking news this morning. Earl's Picks is here. Hump day. Yes, it is. Gary, good morning. With all the coaching change, hope we keep our defensive coordinator. Brandon Staley's not even in. I don't think he's in the running for anything. He's not going anywhere. Now, next year, I think he will be back. I think he would be back in the running for a head coaching position. So I think you probably get one more. Well, you hope you only get one more year, Brandon Staley, because if he does as good a job as he did this past year, he's going to be gone. So Nola Rebel says that he watches on X when he's not at home. Well, we appreciate that. Again, I know we're not going to have any Facebook comments. Doesn't look like today. Apparently, we're having some kind of trouble on Facebook. I don't know what's going on there. This is the second time in 2 weeks that StreamYard has had trouble with Facebook. So it is what it is. Sorry. I will have to download the show and put it up later on Facebook. I will. Gabe says we have Facebook comments. So maybe we don't have a problem. So anyway, they told me we did. It's got the exclamation point like we're not streaming there. I don't know what's going on. Paul Laporte, should the Saints move up in the draft to secure Jeremiah Love from the Chiefs? I'll ask Doug what he thinks. A little early to ask that. I would say at the moment, probably not. Bryant says, good morning. Good morning. You're listening while you build furniture. Well, God bless you. Somebody needs to build furniture because I couldn't even build a square box if you gave me 4 2x4s and they all fit together. I still couldn't do it. That's how dumb I am when it comes to that kind of stuff. Rocky, good morning. It is indeed hump day. Shout out to Mrs. Derry on the road. I don't know if she's watching that. I hope if she is, I hope she's not. She can't type in. She's driving, going 71 miles an hour or whatever. She didn't go much over the speed limit. Driving on I-10 east to Panama City. If you see her, wave to her. Ron Hendrickson, 2 teams in the way of Denver. Seahawks. There are more than 2 teams in the way of Denver. The entire AFC is in the way of Denver. So what are there? 4 teams left? There's 3 teams left in their way. 2 teams in the way of Denver. Seahawks and Texans have had some success against Peyton in the past. Remember Beastquake and a few games where J.J. Watt almost. Boy, you going as far as the Super Bowl? Look, go ahead, cut this out if I'm wrong. Denver's not going to the Super Bowl, dude. Not happening. I don't think they're going to win this week. Spoiler alert. However, the odds are kind of changing. We'll tell you which way in a little bit. You want to take a picture of this one too, Doug? Ron says he's looking forward to Doug Mouton and his insights. Always a treat. Next year we have to have him on Halloween so we don't get tricked. Adam Varner is here. Well, he was at least on Facebook. Hey there, Dattitude family. He's currently at work, but he thinks the draft needs to focus on guards. Adam, if you're still watching the show on Facebook, would you just let me know that if we're still on? All of our Facebook people, if you want to just say yes or whatever, comment. And Facebook is not streaming. It streamed only for 8 minutes and then it ended. Oh, there you go. That's what I thought. All right, so I'm going to have to upload it later. Barry, if you're watching later after the fact, we apologize. Don't know what happened. Yes, I'm going to blame it on StreamYard because that's where the problem was. Barry Ulay, good morning. Jerry says March 20. It never gets old. March 28th is National Falcons Day. 3/28, baby. You better believe that it is. All right, let's bring him in. It's that time. You know what? We're going to start off with LSU this morning. How are you, Mr. Mouton? Always a blast. I saw you taking pictures in the green room because someone was.
I wasn't taking pictures. I was looking stuff up on my phone.
You looking stuff up on your phone with it up to the camera?
I don't know. I was holding it up, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, look, let me say this right off the bat. I've got the lingering cough from the flu I had 3 weeks ago. So if I cough, just cut me some slack. It's I'm getting over it, but I'm not like the lingering cough won't go away. And
When have
that's a normal thing. I think a lot of people have that.
When have I been known to give you slack?
Oh, no, yeah, no, right, yeah. No, right. That's not your thing. You're always gracious and
of course.
Sweet is the way I would. People say, "Tell me about Jim Derry." I said, "Oh, he's sweet."
Oh yeah, just a sweetheart. That's exactly what my wife says all the time. Yeah. JC loves to give me the weather in Denver, and I love to show it. It is 40 degrees and sunny in Denver. It's like 50 and sunny here in New Orleans, or at least in the North Shore of New Orleans. It is a beautiful day in the area, and after some rain overnight, and we're happy about it. All right, I want to start with LSU. I don't want to spend a ton of time talking about it. And again, we had the breaking news this morning. Another quarterback going to LSU. Why would Houston Longstreet go to LSU?
That's a great question. Why would LSU sign more quarterbacks? Well, that answer is obvious. And look, Sam Levitt's got the foot injury. He's probably not going to be great in the spring. Look, Lane Kiffin is dotting every I and crossing every T, and clearly they've got the money to spend it and they're not afraid to spend it. But no matter how many quarterbacks they sign, Sam Levitt's the guy. Sam Levitt's the guy that they intend to ride, hopefully, into the college football playoff.
Of course, I absolutely agree. I don't think there's any other way to look at this. I mean, that's the way that it has to be. But look, you go out and get whoever you can get. If you can talk, this freshman to come over here, and again, you don't know what's the future is going to be. Whether it's going to be this year, whether Levitt is fully healthy, and if he's not, then the kid plays, and they signed another quarterback from Elon who looks to be like an okay backup. And so, I mean, but you don't know what your future holds, and hopefully you can hold Longstreet here, and he starts in 27.
Well, look, the crazy thing about college football right this minute, and to me, it's something they have to rectify, but maybe not, is that every single player in college football is a 1-year free agent every year.
That's right.
Sam Levitt could play 1 year in Baton Rouge and move on. I mean, it is a crazy broken system right now where every single player is a free agent every year. I mean, as of yesterday, I saw LSU had 33 guys out in the transfer portal, and that doesn't count the guys who ran out of eligibility like Garrett Nussmeier. 33 players out in the transfer portal and 28 in, and that was as of yesterday. I'm sure that number is going to be more than that. Every team having 35 new guys, and every single guy in the transfer portal is expecting to play. You're not bringing guys in the transfer portal to play in 2 years, with the exception of quarterback. But the transfer portal is all guys who expect to play. So you're bringing in 35 guys, of which 30 of them expect to play right away. I mean, it's a crazy system.
I mean, really, football, in the grand scheme of things, football has become basketball. I mean, that's kind of how basketball has been now for 15 or 20 years. And really, that's what football is now.
Players, the guys going one and done, are only the 31st round draft picks.
Right.
I'm not talking about only the superstars being one and done. I am talking about like 9 wide receivers in your wide receiver room are all one and done. Like, it's not. Yes, if it was the superstars, that's one thing, and I get that. That's what the NBA has. If you know, the kids who are top 20,
right,
you know, in the college projections, coaches are expecting to have that Cooper Flag for 1 year, and then he's going to be. We're not talking about that. We're talking about everybody on your roster. If it was basketball, all 14 are free agents at the end of the year. It's not that way in basketball. It's not that way anywhere except college football, except big time college football.
Well, it's certainly an interesting situation. I mean, who else are they going to sign? I'm sure they're still going to sign somebody. You talk about 28 as of yesterday. I mean, guess now 29, and probably you'll see a couple more. And I mean, it's just insane. So I mean, you can't even really start to begin to project what next year is going to look like. I mean, you know, your quarterback's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, they may add another running back. I'd kind of be surprised if they don't add another running back. You've got 9 new receivers now. Your offensive line is going to be entirely new. I mean, it's insane how this team is not going to look anything like it looked this past year.
No,
and I guess that's a good thing.
Especially on offense. It is going to be an entirely it's Trey'Dez Green and Harlem Berry and the center, and everybody else is new. And not just those 11, but also all of the backups. So of the 20 guys that'll see playing time on offense, we know 4 of them because Cade Dorn's
right.
So I think we know 4 of the 20, and then the rest of them are all new. And look, that's the one thing, and I'm not going to pretend to understand, but when he signs 9 wide receivers and they're coming from various levels with various production across those levels, I'm not looking at these names and saying, oh, this guy's the starter and this guy's the starter. Because the fact is, I don't know. These are 9 guys coming from 9 different levels with 9 different product. I mean, I guess if I did enough of a tape study deep dive, I might have an opinion. I will say, Seth Lewis and I yesterday did do a tape study deep dive on Sam Levitt, and he does a lot of things well. And the one thing, the more you read about him, and we talk to people, we have a station in Phoenix that covers that team regularly, that we've dealt with a lot, that we've become friends with, and they have longtime sports people like those of us in New Orleans. So they've covered those teams for a long time, and we've known them from a long time. And what they say about Levitt, and I've heard this from other people too, is that not only does he have the skills, not only did he makes the off-schedule plays like he's a modern quarterback and he can run, but that he's got the moxie. He's got the whatever you call that, the intangibles, the personality, the thing, and I hate to bring up these 2 words, but the thing that Joe Burrow showed us early on at LSU, just the swagger that you could see really, not early on in 18, but early on in 19. Joe Burrow really got that swagger, and I think Sam Levitt starts with that, which is an interesting thing. And look, LSU is a big program. When I say big, I mean big with pressure and big with expectations and big on the psyche of a 19 or 20-year-old kid, that to be the quarterback at LSU, I think that would help. Because you need to insulate yourself from the noise. And if you're like uber self-confident, I think that can help you really, and I'm not just saying just LSU, but of the top 15 or so college football programs, I think that helps because it insulates you from criticism. You have to be able to make a mistake and not let it crush you. And so when I hear that about his personality, that he is the leader, he is the alpha, he is all those things, like I think that's a really high quality thing that he needs in Baton Rouge, that Jaden Daniels had more in a quiet way and Joe Burrow had in an outward way. He's apparently, and we don't know him yet personally, but apparently he's got that in an outward way.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And look, it's going to be an interesting ride. Again, I don't want to go through the weeds here. I'm not the biggest Kiffin fan, but I don't think anyone can argue that what he's done so far has really, look, they're not going to, you knew that this team couldn't even think about staying status quo or anything close to it. And he is like, he dives into the portal face first and just, going swimming, baby, and getting the guys he wants. And for the most part, he's been successful getting who he wanted to get. And so for that, you got to say congratulations, kudos on that. And the next step, we'll see what the next step is. You just hope that it's a longer marriage,
Yeah. And look, modern football, you got to have a quarterback. And he was the number one guy. And look, Sam Levitt goes to Tennessee for a visit, and Lane Kiffin flies to Tennessee to visit with him in the middle of his Tennessee visit. That is an aggressiveness that paid off, and that look, you got to love that. That's Lane Kiffin identified Sam Levitt as the guy he wanted, and he sort of didn't take no for an answer in a way that's you look at it and you go, all right, well, and look, the one thing about Lane Kiffin is he can certainly evaluate quarterback talent. Trinidad Chambliss is one of and obviously what he did with Jackson Dart was incredible. What he did with Matt Corral. Look, I thought Matt Corral was a really good quarterback, goes to the NFL and he can't be. What he did with Matt Corral was incredible. To make him into, I think he was a second-round draft pick, was awesome. But the Trinidad Chambliss thing, what struck me more than anything was that any school in America could have had Trinidad Chambliss. Tulane could have had Trinidad Chambliss. He did not get the big NIL deal. He got a deal to be the backup at Ole Miss.
Exactly.
LSU went and got Michael Van Buren for, I think, more money than Trinidad Chambliss. So in the evaluation, LSU identified Van Buren and Kiffin identified Trinidad Chambliss, who nobody else identified, and it turns out.
But that being said, Doug, I'm going to give Kiffin some props here. I mean, if it's the reverse and Trinidad Chambliss comes to LSU and Michael Van Buren goes to Ole Miss and Michael Van Buren has to play, well, maybe Van Buren turns into Trinidad Chambliss because he has the right coach. And I'm not saying that's the case.
Trinidad Chambliss is a better player.
I agree. No, look, what I saw in the playoffs, I think he was outstanding. And I'm not thinking, I'm just saying
Chambliss doesn't have the measurables. He's not big enough. He's not strong enough. He's got his arm is adequate. He doesn't have any of that. So there's, you see it in Indiana where Cignetti doesn't. You know what? If you can win, you're my guy. So that's his theory is on production. And in this case, Lane Kiffin went production over the NFL measurables, and he was 100% right. What I'm saying is that is Trinidad Chambliss is one of the linchpins for my confidence in Lane Kiffin. Because
if you're an LSU fan,
if he could be smarter than everybody else in America and identify this incredible player, even if he didn't totally know what he had, he is the guy that saw more in Trinidad Chambliss than anybody else, and he was right. And that kind of talent evaluation, when there's thousands of kids in the transfer portal, that is what you need to win today. It's not just spending money. The money matters, but the money is half of it. The other half is quality evaluations. Look at what they did at Texas Tech. Their evaluations were so on the money. Texas Tech had never finished a college football season in the top 10. In the top 10 in the history of their school. They had, all of a sudden now in this era, they've got some old school Texas money. They invested beautifully. They wound up in the playoff. Now we're going to see how they do it better this year. And you see they've got one of the best transfer portal classes. Texas Tech is a power in college football in the modern era because of money, the money flowing through that school. And I think SMU is going to come up the exact same way with old school money that school
there's no
has.
doubt. There's no
doubt. But Texas Tech has done it, but they didn't just do it with money. They did it by buying the best defense in college football. And I know they putted out in the playoff, but it's still the best season in Texas Tech history. Anyway, it's talent evaluation and money. Can't play without the money. Talent evaluation doesn't matter if you can't spend with the other guys. But Lane Kiffin's LSU has the money at the elite level, and Lane Kiffin has shown the ability to talent evaluate at an elite level.
LSU fans are not going to be upset that Trinidad Chambliss was announced earlier this week or late last week. I can't remember which one, but that he did not get another year of eligibility, so he is not eligible to return to Ole Miss. So there you go. That's a good thing. Charles says Van Buren will not be on LSU. That is true. It's he's already signed with South Florida, so he is 100% gone. Those on Facebook who we had the early part of the show cut off, and we actually were back on live on Facebook. We're glad about that. So Raid Abdel Majid says new commitment for a USC quarterback. Yeah, you probably missed the breaking news if you're on Facebook this morning. Husan Longstreet, former quarterback at USC, another portal signee at quarterback for Lane Kiffin. So that is a big deal. Logan Graffia says the one thing he loves about Lane Kiffin is he values film over rankings. Yeah, I don't think Lane Kiffin's looking at anybody's rankings to decide who.
Oh, no. Yeah, and any college football coach and hello, Logan. Any college football coach that wants to play for a national championship sure as heck better not be looking at media rankings, because and look, and I like On3. I think they do a nice job, but any college football coach following On3 rankings and not their own is not going to succeed.
Exactly. Right. There's no question about that. All right. One Smoke is not being kind to Brian Kelly, but no one is. His evaluation was trash. A lot of them transferred, didn't hit. They weren't good. It was a really, Brian Kelly just did not do well in the portal.
Mansour Delane was Halsey was. I mean, they didn't have zero quality evaluations.
Right.
They just didn't have enough.
Yeah. Adam says it's always a joy to hear your wisdom, Doug.
Wisdom, yeah. Ooh, wisdom.
Charles is telling you good morning. Okay, let's before we move on to the Saints, I want to say, you say, you hoping I'm being kind. I'm going to be kind to you for a second, because you and I have tried to get me on your podcast, which airs every Wednesday. It'll be on this afternoon.
Really a podcast. It's
whatever. It's a show.
It's a show.
Is this really a podcast? I think the lines are blurred now. What is a podcast? What is a show? Yeah, I call it both. Okay, whatever it is. Your show that appears on WWL-TV Plus and on the WWL-TV YouTube website every Wednesday that you and Ross Jackson do. I gotta say, you've been trying to get me on a few times before. It didn't work out. Finally, it worked out last week. I had as much fun on that show, with no offense to my other friends in this business, because I have a lot of fun doing the things that I do. But I had as much fun. I will tell you this. There's been no other show that I've ever been on where we drank. Yeah. When we drank alcohol on the set in the final call. I had a lot of fun with it, and I'm looking forward to the next time I come on.
I appreciate it. Look, that's the one thing we just want to have fun. And Ross and I had the idea of the show, and we're sitting in the sports office at Channel 4, and Ross looks at me and says, on this show, can we drink? And 2 minutes later, when we stopped laughing, I said, I don't know. What's the idea? And he said, well, and look, to me, I don't know if you remember, like the sports reporters on ESPN, and I love that show.
Yeah,
I told you this. It was Dick Schaap and then Jeremy Schaap.
Right.
And my favorite part of the show was at the end of the show, they would do like a final take or whatever they called it. And it was like Mike Lupica, and he would like write something that was like, a minute and a half, and it would be beautiful and incredible. And, it was always the best part of the show, and whatever they called it. And so Ross said, what if we do a last call where we give like a final opinion? And from the sports reporters, I was like, I love that final opinion. And the last call makes. So I walked in my boss's office, and I have a modern boss, meaning she lives in today's media world. And so she's not rooted to like old school rules, which I love about her. And I walked in and I said, can we drink on this show I'm going to do with Ross? And she said, okay, you got to sell me on it. And I said, well, Ross has an idea. We'll do a segment called Last Call. At the end of the show, we'll give a final opinion, and we'll make a drink. And she goes, oh my God, that's awesome. Sure. And so, so we, and the company pays for the liquor. So
love it.
It's awesome. Yes.
Well,
I never thought I made an Irish old fashioned last night for the show. It's an
who is your guest on who's going to be on the guest on the show?
We did an all Pelican show. So it was Jake Madison and Dylan Sanders. The Locked On network is owned by the same company that owns.
Right.
It's owned by Tegna is the company. They own Channel 4. Now, Channel 4 doesn't own Locked On, but Locked On is part of the Tegna whatever. And so that's what this is. It's a marriage of Locked On and
And Ross usually comes on 4th down and 4. We see him a lot.
And Ross comes on all the time, right? It's this. We're the same company.
Well, I enjoyed it. So
I feel like this is inside baseball that nobody gives a crap about.
Well, you know what? I'm always promoting. You know, you do.
I know, but I do appreciate it.
It's such a great job at helping me.
I
promote
also
my
value
show.
your audience's time, and they didn't tune into this show to listen to me talk about another show.
No, but I think they would be interested. I'm not just blowing smoke. I am dead serious. It's absolutely worth watching, and I think the audience, my dad family here, I think would be interested in going to watch the show. Drops today. If you don't have WWL-TV Plus, you can go to the YouTube website on WWL. It'll be on.
And the WWL Plus is free. It's I don't know. I try to explain this to people.
What is the name of the show again? New Orleans.
It's the Ultimate New Orleans Sports Show.
Ultimate New Orleans Sports Show. Nola Rebel. There it is.
That's a company name that I'm okay. I don't care what we can name a show. And they have an Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show and an Ultimate Dallas Sports Show.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so we said and the company's like, why don't you name it the Ultimate? It's like, all right, I don't. Like I said, I don't care about that kind of. I probably should, but I just don't.
Yeah.
Care. So I said, sure, we'll name it that.
And Dattitude was taken already.
Yeah. Right. If that means you'll pay for a bottle of Jameson, then I'm in.
Okay. One smoke, I promise. Before the last thing I'm going to do today is I'm going to ask Doug's opinion on the national championship game, but we don't want to give it away just yet. Okay. So we will come back to that. UBN says for an all Pelican show, you need a 12-pack.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, look, the Irish old fashioned. I made a syrup with Guinness. It's a Guinness Demerara syrup. So
okay.
So the old fashioned's kind of heavy because you taste the Guinness.
I'm glad you did that this week because I am not an old fashioned guy.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
I am an old fashioned guy. That I'm an old fashioned guy, but I'm not an old fashioned drink guy.
Oh, yeah.
That is not my thing.
I am. Well, anyway,
I don't like bitters.
So we had multiples each because although there's so many interesting topics with the Pelicans, from Zion to the coach to this rookie class to the Queen trade.
Coming up to Pelicans, we actually have a
so many interesting
topics. That is coming up. We talked about some potential moves for the Saints. As we get into the Saints here, we're going to talk about Tyler Shough, obviously, this morning. Yeah. When you talk about the Saints, you obviously have to talk about Kellen Moore and Tyler Shough, but Mark Zatanovich wants to know, is Taysom Hill retiring?
I think so.
That's going to be the first question. And then to tie along with that, so I'm going to ask you a 2-part question. Is Taysom Hill retiring? And someone asked earlier this morning before you came on, when do you think we will start learning about the quote-unquote older veterans, the Cams of the world, the Demario Davises of the world, the AK-41s, Taysom Hill? When do you think we will start learning the fate of these guys for the future of the Saints?
Yeah,
but also is Taysom Hill retiring?
Yeah, you said a month. I think it's going to be sooner than that because I do think you have to figure those guys out before you get to free agency. And what I think that means is if you don't hear that the Saints have re-signed those guys, then I think it means they're going to let them test the free agent waters and see what's out there.
Right.
Now, I do believe, and if you watch them play, I do believe if the Saints don't do anything, they both will be offered contracts by other teams. Cam Jordan will probably be 1-year contracts, and Demario Davis may be 1-year contracts too. But Demario Davis had his highest. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody out there gave him a 2-year deal to lead their
defense,
either. Especially a team.
I don't think the Saints will, though.
Close. Now you saw. Look, both guys. And they talked for a long time. I went to Atlanta for the final game because I wanted to personally ask all the questions in the post-game press conference to make sure all of those questions got asked about, do you want to be back? And I literally worded it that way to both Demario Davis and Cam Jordan, and they both laughed when I asked because they were, on the podium, and there's not a lot of reporters, but there's a few. And they both laughed and both said yes. And there's no doubt they both feel like they can play. They both showed they can play. They both love New Orleans. They have both been spectacular, not just players for this organization, but ambassadors for the city of New Orleans. I have the highest possible opinion of each of those two guys. The Saints are playing the free agent game with them. Mickey Loomis said, we'd love to work it out where they can be back. We'll see if it works. So what Mickey Loomis said in his post-game press conference was, let's make sure if their demands aren't through the roof. We would love to have him back. So Mickey Loomis said, we'll see what happens, basically. So I'm curious what they're asking for, if the Saints can match it. I would love both those guys to be back. Look, the Saints have already made inroads to replace Demario Davis. In theory, that's what Danny Stutzman
right.
Although Stutzman may play with Demario Davis and Pete Werner could see less snaps, and having all three is great because then if one guy gets hurt, you've actually got a legitimate three guys to play two spots that you love. Gives you a little depth. So having Demario back would be great. And Cam made a swim move that got to Kirk Cousins immediately in the first quarter in week 18. If you have any doubts whether he can still do it, just watch that one play. It's like, all right, look.
This whole new system revitalized him. I mean, under Brandon Staley, he was a completely different player. The last 2 years before this, he looked like he just couldn't wait to be gone. He just was not thriving in this system, in the old system at all. Obviously, in this new system, he is. And I'm going to look, this may be wishful thinking, but my prediction is that both of those guys come back. My prediction remains the same on the offense, that both Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill are gone. And
Alvin Kamara is under contract.
He would have to be a post-June 1 cut. And Zach and I talked about this last week. And that's what Zach Ewing said last week. But I do think there's value, especially when you're talking about trying to shore up this offensive line. I think that having that money available when cuts are made and you want to I think they're going to sign a free agent guard. I think is going to be priority number one. So I think but I think you want to sign another one, especially if you don't get something you want in the draft. And I could absolutely see that you cut AK. Again, I get it. People love Alvin Kamara, but we can get into him if you want to. I just think that it makes more business sense. And this is a business. And I've learned about businesses and what makes business sense for some people might be different for others. Yes, I'm talking about my own business. It's just, I think to save that money and to be able to spend it on something that I just don't think Alvin Kamara fits the bill, especially if you go out and get like a Jeremiah Love in the draft.
I would agree with you more if he didn't have 1 year on the contract. He's got 1 year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If he had 3 years left on this contract, I would be 100% in agreement. With 1 year on the contract, you let it play out. I think you're fine. And look, here's the truth about this team, and it starts with Cam Jordan. But Demario Davis plays a role in this, and Alvin Kamara plays a role in this. When this team was 1-8, and in the media room, there are legitimate questions about whether Kellen Moore can get this done. Meaning, is Kellen Moore the right guy? Narrative was starting to get played. You didn't hear it a lot openly, but you heard it a lot behind the scenes.
Right.
The most positive voice in that locker room to say we're on the right track, was Cam Jordan. Cam Jordan had bought in a way that when you talk about what held that locker room together when things were bad, they were 1-8. They had
they were really bad
streaks. They were terrible in Chicago. Not bad, terrible in Chicago. Cam Jordan was number one, but Demario Davis also, and Alvin Kamara also. And those voices mattered. Holding that locker room together mattered. And you saw that by the end of the year. And a lot of the momentum heading into this offseason is because of what Cam Jordan did and was doing actively in week, 9 and 10, and in that span. And I don't think that can be underplayed. And I actually asked that to Cam Jordan. I said, did you make it a point to be that guy? Or is that, he said, nah, it's just who I am. Like, he was so positive and so, no, we're on the right track. That I think he held that place together, and not just him. But anyway, so I agree with you.
Well, I actually have a comment that goes with that. I actually have two comments that I want to share real quick. But I will say this before I get to the comments, because I do think if they do bring Alvin Kamara back, I think two things. First of all, what you just said, we're talking about, I think a lot because of his locker room presence. I think obviously you want that back.
Yes.
So that obviously
is brilliant.
There's no question.
Analytic, like brilliant. Now he'll never work in football when he's done playing. He just doesn't care about it enough. But Alvin Kamara is a brilliant football discussion.
And I think if you do bring in a Jeremiah Love or another pick that's high in the draft at some point, and obviously Alvin Kamara can help in that regard. He also can help with Tyler Shough. I think he can help in lots of ways. So if they do bring him back, it would be for that reason. I also think that two things. I think they would probably restructure his contract one more time, one last time.
Yeah, they're going to have to do that with some anyway. And
the fact that he basically was off of half of last year doesn't hurt him going forward.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. And look, there's still value in what he can do on the field. And yes, what I'm trying to, and look, all the stuff about Kellen Moore that wound up working was all the culture stuff. It was all the behind the scenes stuff.
Right.
And Kellen Moore, whether old school football people like that or believe in that, who cares? The fact is, it seemed to work for Kellen Moore. That was unique to him. And Kamara is a super positive voice and always has been. Cam Jordan is the number one most positive voice in the look. Cam Jordan has done those school visits for 15 years. I actually tried doing a story on the school visits about 8 years ago, and somebody told me, you know what, Cam just wants, how about you not come with the cameras? Cam just wants to visit the school and talk to kids, and he really doesn't want the publicity.
I think they're now.
I was aggravated.
They're a little more open
because I couldn't do the story, and also like, oh my God, like this is really a guy doing it for the right reason. Yeah. And Demario Davis is certainly that guy. Those are three voices that are so positive in that building. Kamara's on a 1-year deal. You're already going to be paying it anyway. So keep Kamara around this 1 year and see if you can get some football juice out of him.
I literally think it's 50-50, but my prediction is he doesn't come back. And
that's possible.
If he does come back, then I'm not going to say, oh, what a terrible. I wouldn't say that. Ryan says he doesn't think this team finishes how it does without the vets, the unquestioned leaders. I absolutely agree. And then also kind of combine it with this comment from Randall wants me to ask you, if you had to choose between Demario Davis or Cam Jordan to return, which one would it be? So both of those comments kind of combined.
Yeah, well, look, Demario Davis, I think, is more fundamental to the defense. I would say probably Demario Davis, but getting an edge rusher that can get double-digit sacks is incredibly expensive and incredibly difficult to find. So, man, Cam and Demario is a toss-up. I hope they can get them both worked out. I guess if I had to pick one, I'd pick Demario because I just think he's got more tread on the tires still. Like, Cam, I don't know how much longer Cam could do. Because I thought, look, I'm not going to lie. I thought Cam was done. At one point, he got a sack. This is early in the year. And I said, in the press box, I said, oh, Cam Jordan got his last sack. And then he got like 8 more in the course of the season. So Cam has more tread than I thought. Demario, like I said, I wouldn't be against signing Demario for 2 years. So I think he's definitely still getting it done at a super high level. I guess I would choose Demario out of the two, but I think we're about 70 to 80% on getting both those back. And you mentioned Taysom Hill.
I agree.
Just to say it, I think Taysom Hill is just done physically.
I don't think
him to get back.
I said this before the year.
And he wasn't the same guy on the field. You can see. He did not have. He didn't run with the same authority that he's run with for the last 8 years. And then he was hurt again at the end. I think it's a shoulder that he had at the end. I think, look, he had
you can only take so much punishment in an NFL career, and he's already taken way more than his quota. Okay.
And he made, for a guy who wanted to be a quarterback and wasn't really an NFL quarterback, he made a lot of money playing pro football.
There's no doubt about it. He wasn't supposed
35. Exactly. He wasn't supposed to be. I think he's going to
be 36
go into the sunset as one of the great Saint players ever. I am in no way demeaning Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill was
I think you could read him when he came to the podium, Doug. You could read his body language that he knows that that last game he had in the Dome and he came in there afterwards and he basically was tearing up and barely get through the press conference. You could see that this means I'm done. And so, look, it's 100%. Okay. He did what he was. Man, what a great player. He certainly goes into Saints Hall of Fame.
And one of the great Sean Payton projects, ideas, whatever.
That's right.
For Sean Payton to invent this role for this one guy and have it so uniquely fit together.
He definitely worked out better than Garrett Grayson and Ian Book.
Yeah. This was Sean Payton at his most brilliant and creative.
I like to take a shot.
Take all the shots you want. That was one of the most brilliant. And look, you take shots at Sean Payton all you want, but I mean, look at what he did in Denver. Take all the shots you want. They are the number 1 seed.
Little things here and there. And look, I'm not taking anything away from the offensive mastermind that he is. There's no question. He's an offensive mastermind.
Vance Joseph had some, what do you call it? Dings on his resume. He's like, how about that guy's my defensive coordinator? Because Denver's there at least as much for the defense.
Oh, it's Bishop Shaw High School, baby.
He made spectacular hires. He was right about his quarterback. Look, Sean Payton has killed it in Denver. Yeah, I saw him at Super Bowl week. I saw him a few times Super Bowl week because we were everywhere. And he knows my face. I probably doesn't even know my name. But I saw him and I said, look, Sean, I know you didn't ask my opinion, but the job you did in Denver this year was spectacular. I just wanted to say congratulations on where you're going in Denver. He said, I appreciate that. Thank you. And then he moved on.
Yeah, but he knows my face, and he probably ties it with Doofus.
Maybe so. And he probably ties me with Doofus, and I could care less. Like, people think I'm a doofus.
One day.
Look, that does not. I try as hard as I can to never let that affect my opinion. And my opinion of the job he has done in Denver is 10 out of 10. And if you think less than that, you're wrong.
Okay.
They're the number 1 seeds. Period.
Let's see if they win a playoff game.
And if they don't, it's still 10 out of 10. Because he's not supposed to be here this fast.
I already promised I would give you a break.
Period.
I'm just going
Jim, I am right. You don't let your personal feelings get in the way.
You can't help it. We're human. I mean, you can't tell me that people don't let their personal feelings get into the way of things.
Putting that in the back seat and understanding, you know what? This dude did a freaking crazy good job.
He's done a really good job.
Crazy good job so far. And even if he gets bounced, and I think that is without question the best playoff game this weekend is Buffalo at Denver. What Buffalo did to go to Jacksonville and win was awesome.
We're gonna get there.
That was my favorite.
You're jumping the gun. We're going to get there. I have a slide for that.
All right, move on. What's next?
Calvin says, get a legit nose and that whole D-line will be better. Look, we don't even know what Vernon Broughton didn't even play last year because he was hurt.
And Devon Gottschall did a super nice job.
So I don't think they're going to go that direction.
The second half of the season was super positive. Like the D-line once Chase Young join that team, and look, that's the real secret to Cam Jordan's success. Not that Cam Jordan didn't play terrific. It's that Cam Jordan will never see a double team or a chip or any overplay ever again while Chase Young is on the field. And Cam Jordan one-on-one can play. Cam Jordan for 12 years saw every overplay that there was and still had success. I'm not sure Cam Jordan would still have success now if he was getting the overplays. Chase Young's getting all of that action, and Cam Jordan could just do his thing.
Man, Chase Young
was fun to watch in the last 8 weeks.
Chase Young looked like a man beast the last 4 to 6 games of the year. That was the guy that you're like, man, if this guy had played like this from the get-go, but then again, maybe Dennis Allen wouldn't have got fired. So, or left.
Well, and Brandon Staley has put Chase Young.
100%.
Spectacular job. And look, the one question I had for Chase Young after the last game, I said, is this the best? And I knew the answer before I asked. Is this the best situation you've ever been in? Coach, ownership, fan base, team, locker room. He said, oh, my God. He said, I never met the owner in Washington. I've had plenty of talks with Saints ownership about all kinds of things that aren't even about football. He said, I love it here. I want to be a Saint forever. And
and I believe that he does.
And that's the culture you want to set
exactly.
up.
And
that's
all those
Sean Payton had.
Exactly. You want to talk about what Sean Payton does well, better than anybody is. Look, he's got guidelines for who's going to be on his team. And if you don't check every box, and that includes character-wise and everything, you got to fit a certain mold to be on Sean Payton's team, so you're not there very long.
And you got to
That's the number one thing that I think that Sean Payton has always done right. Michael,
like
good morning.
I'm winning you over. Yeah.
Maybe a little bit. From the Best Bank, you always got to, talking about Vance Joseph, you always got to give a shout out to the
and
Best
look,
Bank.
I'm a huge Vance Joseph fan. He's going to get another shot as a head coach. I hope he succeeds. But what he did at Denver this year was like him reestablishing.
Right.
Brandon Staley, same thing. You know what? This is who I am. You know what I mean? And like, okay,
I hear
you can crap on me all you want. I didn't succeed as a head coach. It's a different job, but this is who I am. And Vance Joseph did it. Robert Saleh did it in San Francisco. Like, I love seeing guys who get knocked down a peg, get back up.
They get knocked down, but they get up again. No, you're never going to keep them down.
And Vance Joseph got back up and kicked butt this year in a way that was super cool to watch.
That was my musical reference, by the way. You never even caught. Chris Roth and I don't always agree, but we agree here. 10 out of 10 is winning a Super Bowl. It's not a first round bye. I mean,
all right,
would you have given Mike Vrabel a 10 out of 10 at Tennessee when they got the number one seed?
I'm giving it because I believe it, because I like what Peyton does. No, that's fair. Okay, 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. And I'm not saying 9 out of 10 for his career in Denver. I'm saying 9 out of 10, for where he is right now. Yes, that's going to be the expectation by next year for sure. And I'll buy that. I'm not.
UBN's pushing back a little bit.
But I'm talking about the job he did this year.
All right, UBN's pushing back. He said he ain't proved diddly poo yet. Talking about Bo Nix.
Oh, Bo Nix. Yeah, you're right. Let's see Saturday.
All right, question, because I want to end this segment talking about Tyler Shough. Obviously, that one. I mean, when you talk about Saints, you got to talk about Tyler Shough. You got to talk about Kellen Moore. We haven't really got there yet, so I want to end this little piece of not our segment, but this piece of the segment. But Rocky first. Does Taysom reach Canton due to several uncommon talents not seen before by a single player? I would say probably not.
He's not eligible, actually. He can't. He won't be.
Oh, why is that? I didn't know that.
He's never made a Pro Bowl or an All-Pro team. That is one of the requirements to even be considered for Canton. And honestly, if you look at the numbers, he's not. Now,
no. I mean, I wouldn't think he would anyway. But I did not know that was you had to do that.
Yeah,
I never realized he didn't make it.
Yes, and actually,
can you be second team All Pro?
What's that?
Can you be second team?
Never been a second team All Pro. No.
Oh, but there is a Saint right now that's second team All Pro. I'm not. No.
Chris Olave? Yeah. Well, that's.
People love to knock on Chris Olave, and I love to give my little prop up whenever I get a chance to. And you gave me a chance to do it.
I'm not gonna lie, I was a little surprised by that, and I did look into the voting. The way it's voted is, I think the guys voting get a first team and a second team, right? The first team gets 3 points, and the second team gets 1 point.
That's correct.
And all pro teams now, and this wasn't true 30 years ago, but all pro teams now have 3 wide receivers first team and 3 wide receivers second team.
Correct.
He was, and I'm not saying this as a knock. He was 6th in the voting of those 6 that made the Pro Bowl teams. And if you look at the actual votes, the guy who was 5th, and I think it was, I'm drawing a blank. Whoever was 5th.
5th was Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, no, I think he was 4th. But I could be wrong.
The other second
team had 59 points. And then the person above him had in the 70s. And then Olave had 23. So Olave was on enough ballots, but less than half the. But because then after that, there were like 15 guys that had 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1.
My point is, I've been saying for.
You didn't have a ton of votes.
I've been saying for a long time. And and I'm not talking about you, but I'm just saying a lot of people not agreeing with me that Chris Olave. I am so sick of the Chris Olave is not a wide receiver 1. If you think, what you told me earlier about Sean Payton, if you think Chris Olave is not a wide receiver 1, not only are you wrong, but you're a moron and you should feed pigeons on Sundays instead of watching football because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Now,
I will say this: Chris Olave, when Tyler Shough became the Saints starting quarterback, to me, Chris Olave looked
different
like
receiver.
And in fact, this sounds.
You need a good quarterback to be a semi-decent receiver,
especially for what Chris Olave does.
You mean Justin Jefferson wasn't very good after Kirk Cousins left?
And Justin Jefferson's different than Chris Olave, although he's in the same ballpark. Chris Olave is a beautiful, fluid, ballet-style route runner that you now saw what he could do with Tyler Shough. I had like an epiphany with Chris Olave. I thought they might deal him at the trade deadline. And I thought maybe that might be a good idea. But then, and I'm not saying I was right because I was clearly wrong. Because once Tyler Shough came in, all of a sudden.
Hold on. I want to show this because you know how I like calling out even my own members of the Datt family. I don't care. I'll call them out. Stop watching football, Randall. He's a number one in the Saints team, not a number one in the league. He got the 6th most All-Pro votes. You are one of the only numbnuts on planet Earth who think what you just put. Even most of the haters have come around. They just don't even talk bad about Olave. They just don't say anything. If you hate Olave, you are a numbnuts if you think that. Numbnuts.
Here's the thing with Chris Olave that I think more than anything turned people off to him is that he has a great aversion to football collisions, right? Chris Olave doesn't, he's not a tackle breaker. He's not going to run through guys. He's going to get down. He's going to get out of bounds. He has an aversion to football collisions. So old school football people, which I think would kind of be you. So I'm a little surprised that you're not a little more on that train. Chris Olave's aversion to collision is what turned off a lot of older people who are used to football as a collision sport. That's just my little opinion of why I think a lot of.
But here's the thing: what people don't understand, he doesn't have to be Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase or Jackson Smith
to run through people to be great.
I agree. Who are those guys? Nobody besides those 3 guys.
Amon-Ra loves football collisions,
but he's not. Amon-Ra St. Brown's not those 3 guys. Even DK Metcalf, who I think is a fantastic. Oh, George Pickens, by the way, was the other one. It just came to my head. Who were the other? The other second team All-Pro. But no one's those guys. You don't have to be one of those guys to be a wide receiver one.
But I'm just saying, I think that's what turned people off to him. I'm not saying you need to be that. I'm not saying that's even a rational dislike. But there's so many times when he would catch a 4-yard pass and instead of running forward to get 3 more yards, he'd go out of bounds or go down and not get the extra yards. And I would hear that from people. Oh my God. Play football.
Exactly.
You'd hear that.
I hear you.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's rational. I'm just trying to explain the anti-Chris Olave movement that existed for his first few years here. But then I will say, when you watch his route running and watch what he did with Tyler Shough, it was beautiful.
Absolutely.
I do believe, and I whether you call him a 1 or a 2, I don't care. I do think you need to give him a big-time weapon on the other side. And
100% agree.
Really going to see Olave blossom. But you saw it.
Doug, if this team gets
beautiful stuff.
If this team gets 2 guards, and someone was asking earlier about Ruiz being gone, I think Ruiz is probably going to stick around, but I mean, I got to hope that he's as a backup is what I hope. I don't know that that's going to happen, but regardless, if you get a top-tier guard, a top-tier running back.
And I have a guy in free agency.
And one more top-tier, and this is a great year, by the way, for guards in free agency. It's usually not, but this is actually a really good year for guards.
Who's the target? I'm going to tell you now.
Get some Buffalo?
No, Ed Ingram.
Oh, okay.
Ed Ingram in Houston. He's 26. He's from Louisiana. He chose LSU. So I think if the Saints made a competitive offer, he'd love to stay in Louisiana. Had a great season. Had a really good season for Houston. I think Ed Ingram is a guy you target in free agency and take. You said, and I don't disagree with you, you said on my show you think they need 2 interior offensive linemen. Again, I don't disagree with you. I think you spend your money on Ed Ingram and you immediately fill one of those spots. And then the second spot, maybe you get lesser free agents. Maybe you spend a 4th or 5th round pick. I think you need to save your draft capital for the expensive positions, which is, you said Jeremiah Love, yes, for wide receiver. If there's an edge rusher you like in round 1, I have no problem with going to get that because you can't get it in free agency without completely breaking the bank. So I think interior offensive line is something you'd really rather not spend your draft capital on. And it's the one thing that's sort of affordable in free agency. Ed Ingram's my number one for the reasons that I like him as a player. I love what he did at LSU. And I think as a Louisiana native who chose LSU, that means he would love to stay in state if you can afford him.
Yeah.
Like Ed Ingram's my number one guy, the least sexy position there is. My number one guy.
They got to do that though, Doug.
You got
you know what? I'm not going to be upset if they go out and pick, like I said on your show, if they spend money, big money on two of those guys. Look, when the reason why when Drew Brees, when he first got here, and I think the Saints were a hit right off the bat, it wasn't just because Drew Brees was Drew Brees and Sean Payton was Sean Payton. Obviously, those things had a lot to do with it. But because they hit in the draft on the offensive line and were able to be really good up front right away. And so I think if you get two guards and Eric McCoy is able to come back, you're talking all of a sudden this offensive line becomes like, top 15 even. And a top 15 line with another running back and a decent receiving core and with this quarterback, then all of a sudden you're talking about an offense that goes from being like 25th in the league or 24th in the league to maybe 16th or 15th in the league, and you already have a top 10 defense. All of a sudden you become competitive right now.
Legit. Right. You can be competitive right now. I still need a bunch of depth pieces. Look, I still think cornerback is something you got to figure out what you do with Alontae Taylor. You still have questions there. I think Alontae Taylor was quietly I hope they can re-sign him, but he is not going to be cheap. And teams are definitely going to be interested in him. So I think that's an interesting spot. Yeah, you've got holes, which is interior offensive line. I actually think, and this is not a popular opinion, but I actually think if you could get a guy like Ed Ingram, a number one, I think with Eric McCoy, and then I think Luke Fortner was a solid signing. He wasn't great, but I think he was solid.
I agree.
Backing up McCoy.
Great. I thought he was just a fine backup.
He's your backup. I think Cesar Ruiz would be okay if you had that.
You might not have a choice, honestly, because
and I don't think they would have a choice, right? Yeah. So I'm not Ruiz's biggest fan, but I am a fan of Cesar Ruiz than probably most people. But I think that could work. But you got to get one legit guy,
right?
To play and they've gone with what I would call scrap heap guys, and that's such a demeaning term. Well, these are NFL players, but Dylan Radins was among the lowest graded guards.
And now he's got to be going, and he was a 1-year deal.
Was Lucas Patrick and those guys. You have to get a legitimate guy to play that spot, and I'd really rather them not use the draft capital on that. Why I think you're probably right on Ruiz, even though obviously I feel the same way as most fans. And I don't argue.
I don't always agree with fans about things, but this one I absolutely agree with on. And he is currently, if people are wondering, he's still under. He's got 2 years left in his 4-year, $44 million contract extension, which I don't understand why they did that at all. That's
not an unreasonable amount of money.
That's a pretty hefty sum for a mediocre to. I mean, that's being nice. Mediocre guard. I'm just gonna say that's a lot of money, in my opinion.
I mean, you're gonna spend more than that in free agency to replace.
Well, I know, but you're gonna spend more than that on free agency on someone that's good. So that's the difference.
I think if he was your 5th best starter, you'd be okay. The problem is he's been your 3rd best starter. That's been the problem the last 2 years. And look, here's another super unpopular opinion. The job Mickey Loomis did in 2025 was excellent.
People aren't
not the totality of his career.
I agree 100%.
In 2025, he did an excellent job, but the fact is he couldn't fix everything in 1 year. They didn't have the money.
Which was partly a big chunk of his.
So the fact that the offensive line wasn't there yet, look, you got a legitimate piece in Kelvin Banks. He took Kelvin Banks because it was a safe pick.
I agree.
And you know what? It turned out to be a great safe pick. Not a good safe pick, a great safe pick. Kelvin Banks immediately for this season became your best offensive lineman.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And look, I think Fuaga's going to be fine at right tackle.
I think Fuaga's going to be fine.
Is he Ryan Ramczyk? Probably not. Yeah, but he still can be good. And look, as I transition, again, we got to talk about Tyler Shough and Kellen more, but UBN, this is exactly how I feel. Olave does what he does when everyone knows that everyone else on the team at wide receiver are garbage. Imagine, Tyler Shough was doing what Tyler Shough with Olave and no one else, and Juwan Johnson maybe,
right.
but guys I never heard of and probably will never talk about again. I mean,
well, hopefully,
and so it's and that leads me into Tyler Shough here. And look, are we overblowing this thing with Tyler Shough to me, or is he really? Do we think that he can do what he did the last 8 games of the year and on a prolonged basis and become that guy, or maybe already is? Are we overblowing this thing?
Well, look, to quote Mickey Loomis, and I think he was exactly right. Look, in the postseason press conference, the one thing I was curious about was how bought in on Shough Mickey Loomis was going to be. And Loomis was all in. The one thing he said was, let's see this guy get through 17 games as a starter, which would be half the season. Let's make sure what we're seeing is real. But look, Jim, he's the first physical tool that he has always had, is a freaking shotgun for an arm, right? Todd McShay, I heard this evaluation, and I can't get it out of my head because it's so 100% on the money. The ball jumps out of his hands. You know, he reminds me of, from his physical build and the way the ball jumps out of his hands.
Let's see if it's the same person he reminds me of.
It's Tyler Glasnow.
Okay. That's not
one of the great pitchers in baseball. Can't stay healthy.
I was going to say, you're going to compare to baseball pitcher.
And skinny, and not skinny, but long and lean, sort of just that long body build. Tyler Glasnow's got too much hair. It sometimes looks ridiculous, but it looks great on the mound.
Well, he won a World Series.
But he's got a spectacular delivery. And to me, Tyler Shough is the Tyler Glasnow of football. That's what he has first. His setup is textbook. His delivery is textbook. And he's got a shotgun for an arm. When you say makes every throw, like,
he does make every throw.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, if Tyler Shough had decided to be a major league pitcher, he could be Tyler Glasnow. That's how good of an arm I think he has. Tyler Shough has an elite gun, and that's where you start. But then you also see what he can do running the ball, and then the one revelation in his game, and when I asked Kellen Moore, and this wasn't in the season ending, it was the Monday after, I said, what is it about his game that maybe you didn't expect to be as far along as it is? And it's the whole pocket presence thing. It's feeling the rush. It's knowing where the rush is coming from.
Right.
It's instinctually moving up to the right spot in the pocket and finding the guy downfield. And Tyler Shough has that, and didn't just show it in that first game against Carolina. And it was literally his third offensive play in that game. He got sacked on play 2. And on play 3, he had this mentality of just, you know what, screw this. Stepped up in the pocket, hit Juwan Johnson. I think it was a 38-yarder. And that was my first Tyler Shough, holy crap, play.
I'm going to
delivered about 30 more of those.
I'm not the first one to make this comparison, but I'm going to tell you who he reminds me of. And I hate to use this comparison because talking about potentially overblowing something, but I think he has and I'm going to say potential. He's not there yet, but he does certain things that remind me of Josh Allen, that I think he can be that kind. I think he needs to put on a little bit more bulk.
He's a different kind of runner.
He's not nearly as powerful, I don't think, as Josh Allen.
He's never going to do the quarterback sneak from the 11 and get to the half-yard line.
Right, exactly.
Right. And that's okay.
But I think that his style of play, I guess I should say.
Style is the right
style
word.
of play kind of reminds me, and Josh Allen obviously has the pocket presence, knows when to get out of the pocket, knows when he wants to run, can do design runs or not design runs. And Josh Allen, frankly, he's doing things with – he doesn't have – he's got a better receiver core than the Saints, but they do not have enough weapons. They never really have. And Josh Allen
was raving about Brandon Cooks after the game.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Rejects.
where their weapons are right now. Look,
yeah, no doubt about it.
Going back to Shough, here's the thing. He has got an elite arm talent, which I just think is – the arm talent became an expression, I don't know, about 8 years ago, and I just think it still sounds funny to me. He has elite arm talent. You can run. You can see the two running touchdowns against Tampa, one on a scramble, one on a design run. So he has legitimate athleticism to run for first downs and touchdowns when he needs to. He has got this excellent pocket presence and was accurate. There is nothing about his game that we saw that should give you pessimism. Like, other than the fact that we didn't see a big sample size, and you hope what you saw is real. That's why I think Mickey Loomis is right on the money, because Mickey Loomis, what he said, without using these exact words, were, we are incredibly excited. Let's just see it for a few more games before we totally buy in. But I think somehow the Saints have found a legitimate playoff quarterback in round 2. And that is the win of all wins.
Yeah, it really is. And I try not to get too hyped up, because I was wrong about him in the beginning. I said I didn't understand why they were spending that high of a pick on him, but he's proven the Saints right thus far. So I try not to get too fired up. Randall, by the way, says he reminds him of Dak with his size and pocket presence. I think he runs probably a little bit better than Dak, but that's not too bad of a look, you're being compared to
it is the modern
future Hall of Famer. So, I mean,
it is the modern skill set that you have to have. You can't be, I guess you could if you were Drew Brees good, but you have to be able to run. You have to be able to do all these things. And his like just raw speed, like from the combine, that was what opened the door to him being a second-round draft pick. It wasn't anything he did on the field. It was his stopwatch and his raw athletic skills at the combine that people went, holy crap, this guy with the cannon arm really can run a little bit. No coach ran him in college, and you don't blame him. He had 100 injuries. They were afraid he was Anthony Davis China doll and that he would break. And it turns out when the Saints played him, he didn't break.
Doug, you don't even know what you said. You said cannon, and that leads right into Cannon's comment. I mean, Cannon McGee says, good call. The thing on Josh Allen is he has an offensive line. If the Saints get 2 guards and Tyler, and it's not the greatest of it. It's Josh
good. Allen's doing a lot of it by himself. Now he has a running back and he has a pretty good offensive line. But man, his set of weapons, other than James Cook, is not what you would call great.
Yeah. All right. Before we move on from the Saints, we're not gonna have a lot of time to talk about the NFL and the
let's do it rapid fire.
The Pels, but real quick, give me your comment. And I don't care. I mean, we can go. I mean, theoretically, we could go for another hour and a half, but it's your day off, and I don't want you to do that. Yeah, you coughed when I said that. I want you to tell me what your thoughts on Kellen Moore in the first year, and to me, how he grew from week 1 to week 17 is
all of that.
I would have never expected that.
It's everything you hoped for in him. He didn't have a great set of cards at the start of the season.
Right.
Look, I will say the one big question for me right now on Kellen Moore, and we're going to know this in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I think. What do you do about special teams? Saints have the worst special teams in the NFL. They got to fix that. He might have to fire a coach and hire a new coach. Let's see if the nice guy coach will fire his special teams coordinator and move on. Saints special teams were not bad, horrific. Worst field goal kicking in the NFL, worst punt coverage, worst punt returning, worst kickoff returning, worst across the board in every phase of special teams. That has to be unacceptable, and you have to make a change. So that's A. Let's see. But everything he did, the culture building, he learned.
I just wanted to get a little bit more fired up.
Got better as well. I'm talking loud because I got guys.
I know the lawn dude's there.
Look, a few years ago, I cut my own lawn for 30 years.
Yeah.
And like 4 years ago, I said, you know what? I'm going to stop giving up one of my 2 days off to cut my lawn, and I'm going to hire somebody. It's the smartest thing I ever did. Anyway, because the guy does a way better job than I do too.
I understand. I got
anyway. So I love the job he did. Bottom line, he's still got a lot of work to do, but there was so much progress, so much, going from 1 to 8, so much. I called it Mr. Miyagi stuff that you saw him do, and you didn't see the wisdom of it right away, but later you saw the wisdom of what he was doing. He waxed on, waxed off.
Douglas on
a lot of us. And we didn't see, and then all of a sudden when Daniel-san got in the fight, Daniel-san started winning some fights. And then I thought, I get the wisdom of Miyagi. And yeah, Kellen Moore did a lot of that. And And so, yeah, I gave him an A for year one. Does that mean I think he's going to get an A in year two? No. But I loved what he did in year one because this team was at 0. 2 years ago, this was the oldest roster in the NFL. They got younger. They're still like 23rd or 22nd or something at the start of the year in age of the roster. They still have to keep getting younger. But from where this team started to where it ended, Kellen Moore, chef's kiss on what he did.
We'll see if he can continue that.
No, and that does not mean there's going to be a chef's kiss in year two.
And look, and for Shough and for Kellen Moore, you always worry about that second year because sometimes they just take the league by storm.
Yes.
Then they have time to think about and reflect about what they did.
You fully buy in after 2 years. I agree. 100%.
You got to be a little 100%. Careful.
But everything those two guys did was awesome.
Yeah.
Everything Kelvin Banks did leads me to believe that he's going to be excellent for a long time. Everything Chase Young did leads me to believe
Jonas Sanker.
This guy's going to be the linchpin. Jonas Sanker. There's so
Quincy
many
Riley, Danny Stutzman.
Awesomes. Quincy Riley. You might have gotten a starting outside cornerback.
I think you did.
Brilliant. Brilliant. He's still made a lot of mistakes. Still has a ways to go. But if you got a starting outside corner in year 4, chef's kiss. And
that was one of the picks that they got for getting rid of Marshawn Lattimore.
And then the last part of that is you got and Quincy Riley is my biggest.
Jonas Sanker and Quincy Riley, both part of the Marshawn Lattimore exodus.
And Quincy Riley is my single biggest reason why you don't trade up. Take your shots. Because when you trade up, the 4th round picks are the ones you give away. And you know what? You got Danny Stutzman and Quincy Riley who can be linchpins on your defense for a while, for at least the next 4 or 5 years. They can be linchpins. They can be cheap linchpins for the next 2 or 3 years. And you got them because you didn't trade up. You knew who you wanted at quarterback, and you waited for pick 40. That took patience that the Saints
nobody was taking Tyler Shough.
Never exhibited.
Nobody was taking Tyler Shough.
Kool-Aid McKinstry, but he cost the Saints 3 picks. They traded up to get him and gave away 2 picks that might have been a Danny Stutzman. If you had been patient, maybe you would have gotten Kool-Aid and 2 other guys. That's my only thing in this draft is be freaking patient. Take the guys who come to you, like Sanker, like Riley, like Shough, like Kelvin Banks.
Another player from, I'm just going to end this with here, to toot Mickey's horn again, because again, as crappy of a job he might have done for a few years.
For 1 year, he didn't.
Kicking that can down the road was just really put this team in a hole. So don't think that I'm just like giving Mickey a pass, because I'm not. Okay, kicking that damn can screwed this team for multiple years. However, you think about what they got in the Marshawn Lattimore trade, the picks that they got. Again, Jonas Sanker, Quincy Riley, and Devin Neal, and then trading a 4th round pick for Devon Vele, who not everyone, but a lot of people poo-pooed and thought it was a terrible, you can't do that, blah, 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 blah. Turns out Devon Vele may be the wide receiver 2 on this team.
Yeah, and even if he's the 3, receiver that this team needed.
Yeah.
And look, I thought they gave him too much too. But looking back at it now, they may have been smarter than
sometimes you need to trade. Sometimes you need to trade the picks.
I
don't like trading up either.
And they also got draft capital. Trading Rashid Shaheed was the right move. They have extra draft capital this coming draft. They just need to be smart about it like they were last year. They need to understand the whole Sean Payton era was about we're 1 guy away, so let's spend 4 picks on 1 guy.
Right.
Whereas they have to understand this team is still a thin team. Quincy Riley goes down. Who's playing cornerback? That's your question, right?
Yeah.
You need depth across the board.
And they will draft at least 1 more cornerbacks.
Don't give up draft picks. Use your draft capital.
Yeah, and the Saints have always been good about identifying good young cornerbacks. They really have. I mean, if you talk about any position that the Saints have been able to identify, to me, that's got to be right up there at the top of the list. And
that's on the need list. It's not high.
It is. They're going to do it.
It's on the need list.
It's not low either. I wouldn't be surprised if you spent like a 3rd round pick on it, maybe, or something.
Right. Maybe.
Last Saints comment before we move on. You don't even need to comment, but Mark has been pushing this, and he wants to draft a punter He wants Jack Stonehouse from Circa. I mean, he's been drafting a punter.
And look, if you spend a 7th-round pick on a punter, I'd be okay with that.
All right.
But please don't spend a higher than a 7.
Mitch says he felt.
Although, look, Jacksonville spent money on Cam Little. Everybody, poo-poos spending draft capital on kickers. Cam Little is one of the reasons Jacksonville won the division and was in the playoffs. And that looks like a great draft pick now.
Look, somebody sat on Mickey in the draft and wouldn't let him trade up. I just think, look, I sometimes.
Yeah, no. Whatever they did worked. Do that again.
But part of why they've traded up often, let's don't kid ourselves, okay? All you Sean Payton lovers, you don't think they were trading up because Sean Payton wanted to trade up?
Oh, no, 100%. That was, yeah. Here's the fact, and I think people know this, but here's the fact. Every single thing the Saints did from 2006 until Sean Payton left was Sean Payton's idea. Sean Payton ran everything. His GM executed the plan that he wanted him to. And all his coaches executed the plan that he wanted them to. And Sean Payton made every call in that building, and that is a 100% fact. It was not a collaboration. When Sean Payton,
Doug Mouton, the next book author of the New Orleans Saints behind the scenes, and Mickey Loomis was nothing but a coffee fetcher. I mean, that's basically what
he wasn't a coffee fetcher.
He was just a coffee fetcher.
Joe Brady, that was his job. Wasn't a coffee fetcher. We heard it was the Chick-fil-A fetcher. But
I'm just saying, that's basically what you just said there.
Mickey Loomis's job was to execute Sean Payton's plan. Mickey Loomis had a lot of work to do, but he was not making the plan. Sean Payton was making the plan, and Mickey Loomis was executing Sean Payton's plan. That's a fact.
All right. I don't want to spend. I literally want to spend 2 minutes on this, but I made a slide for it, and it's worth mentioning because I put it in the description.
Because you made a slide for it.
I made a slide for it, and I put it in the description that we would mention it. So I feel compelled to. I feel obligated to mention the horrendous embarrassment of an NBA franchise, the New Orleans Pelicans. They are now 9-33 in the West. They keep finding ways to lose. Sometimes when you think they're going to win, they lose. They lost again last night. And I texted this to Gabe. So we have for the first time, we're displaying some just updated graphics. I wouldn't call them 100% new, but we tweaked our graphics today, the first day that we're showing them here. If you didn't notice, if you wondered what something was different, I've tweaked the graphics a little bit. But in doing so, when I made a Pelicans template and I was doing last three, I typed in a predicted score for the Denver game last night. And you will be interested to know that I typed in loss versus Denver 122-112. And it ended up being 122-116. But the point is, this team is just, I'm sorry, they just flat out stink. And I don't know if it's because they need to start over. I don't know.
They did start over.
I mean, start over. I mean, like, is Dumars going to be the answer? I don't know. It's too early to tell. I don't think all this talk about Borrego is going to be here. You can't keep this dude. You need to clean house in that coaching staff. I think you just need to start over there. I'm not necessarily player wise. I don't know what's going to happen with Zion, but look, I'm getting rid of the entire coaching staff. You're now midway through the season and you've got single digit wins. This team is an embarrassment. They're really pissing me off because you can't even watch them. They're that bad.
Yeah, they're hard to watch. I will say that. I don't even know where to start with the things you said. Look, James Borrego is pushing this narrative that, he sees improvement and they're getting better and all that. And that the results are going to come. So, look, it doesn't do you any good to make a coaching change between now and the end of this season. So you play it out. And if they finish where all of us think they finish, which is with less than 20 wins.
20 wins, right.
Then I think they will go out and get a new coach. Now, look, the question is whether or not this organization, which has never really spent a lot of money by NBA standards, will go get one of the elite coaches out there and spend the money. Borrego would be cheaper to keep. That is obviously one.
Oh, God. I'm just going to completely give up on them if they go the cheaper.
A lot of people will. And here, all right, to carry a Saints analogy, right? Borrego would be the easy in-house way.
He's Darren Rizzi.
He would be I would say he would be Dennis Allen. He would be the Dennis Allen hire. The Saints have just experienced an organizational epiphany by going and hiring the youngest coach in the NFL and saying we are going to start over with new ideas. And it worked in the Saints organization, right? I'm wondering if they will, hoping maybe that they will carry that same mindset into the Pelicans organization and say, you know what, from a coaching standpoint, we did go out the box, when I say out the box, out of our own box, out of our own set of these guys have been our guys. They went completely different with Kellen Moore, and it worked. I'm hoping they do that with the Pelicans. So
they're out of their box if they keep this dude.
We will find out how serious the organization is about winning, I think, by what they do with the coach. Do they go cheap, or do they try to get a legitimate coach? And then there's a lot of questions. Look, Zion, I don't think he's – and there were reports last week that he's not going to get traded before the trade deadline. I don't think he is. And I think the biggest reason is because you don't get anything for him if you trade him now. You might as well let this play out and see if he can put up better numbers and you can trade him in the offseason. Because right now a trade really wouldn't help you in any way. And
I'm done with him. I got to be honest.
No. And I think it's possible the organization is too, but it still doesn't make sense to trade him now. Okay, yeah. Whether you're done with him or not doesn't matter.
I get that.
I will say this about James Borrego. Like one game when they won those few in a row was against Houston. And the one Zion was having all kinds of trouble against Houston's length. Houston's one of the longest teams in the league. They were playing 4 guys who were 6'11" or bigger. And Zion was having no success. He couldn't play. And the Pelicans made a fourth quarter comeback and then won it in overtime. And Zion watched it from the bench. And he's fully healthy and could have played. That was one thing that I thought, all right, well, good for James Borrego. He doesn't mind benching his superstar when he does not fit in this game. And he played a lineup. He was playing what is the Eastern European guy on the roster? I perpetually forget.
So do I.
I always call him Darko Milicic, which is obviously
not.
But they played him down the stretch and not Zion, which I found like a revelation. Like that's an organizational thing that, you know what, we're not Zion one.
Carlo Matkovic.
Yes, they played Matkovic down the stretch and not Zion. And granted, that was one game, and Zion can help you offensively in a lot of games. I thought that was really interesting. Look, Derek Queen now looks like the number one on this team. You see Trey Murphy.
Yeah, obviously, no doubt.
Trey Murphy playing significantly better.
Yes.
Queen is a super unselfish player and may be good enough to be your one. And Trey Murphy alongside – look, I'm looking for bright spots, right? Trey Murphy alongside Queen, you have a 1 and a 2. And Jeremiah Fears, who is a long way from being a good player, but looks like a good draft pick. He's got a lot of skills, and he's fearless. Like, I think you have a few pieces. I think you need a coaching reboot. I think Zion's going to not be part of whenever, hopefully, this team's ready. But people saying the team needs to reboot, they did reboot. They fired David Griffin. They brought in Joe Dumars. I think you have to give Joe Dumars a little bit of time.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with. I'm not ready to give up on Joe Dumars.
I do think you're going to need some roster overhaul, but I do think right now we are in the phase of figuring out what pieces work. Maybe Herb Jones is not part of this team when you end in the offseason, and he would get you something in a trade. Everybody needs a defensive stopper. The one guy I think people think is going to get traded by the trade deadline is Jose Alvarado, because every good team, maybe not every, but a lot of good teams need a backup point guard. Jose Alvarado is a quality point guard. If you can get something of value for Jose, it would be like trading Rashid Shaheed from the Saints. I love Jose Alvarado, but that would be probably a smart move for this franchise going forward. This team needs to not be worrying about its backup point guard. You know what I mean? Like, this team needs to figure out its 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 first.
I mean, is there really any future with I mean, I love Jose Alvarado, but going forward, I mean, DeJounte Murray's going to come back.
Point guard. But
yeah, you got Jeremiah Fears and you have DeJounte Murray. So, yes, I mean, it's a luxury you don't need. And I love Jose Alvarado and what he does and the toughness he brings. But you hope Saddiq Bey can bring that toughness. Look, it's one of the problems with the Pelicans. Seth
described the Pelicans, not this year, but of the last few years, as the live, laugh, love era of the Pelicans. Like, the locker room got along great, and they were the least tough team in the NFL, and they played like it, and you saw it. And look, one of the first signings, or what they're in the trade to get Sadiq Bey, was Joe Dumars recognizing this team wasn't tough enough. Let's get a little tougher. So
that turned out to be a really good move.
Even if they gave up too much to Queen, the personnel evaluation of Queen was right. And the evaluation.
But that still doesn't mean you don't give up that pick. I mean, I'm not saying
that. But what I'm saying is, when you evaluate Joe Dumars, his biggest thing in the next 3 years is going to be talent evaluation. And I see signs that he made a few right calls. I'm not saying the trade was right, but I say I see some, at least enough to say you can't fire Joe Dumars in 1 year. You got to give him a chance to see 100%. If whatever vision he has can work.
I think the moves he's made, hard to watch. Yeah, and look, you brought him in basically knowing that you were probably going to have a coaching search. I mean, that was part. It wasn't just some of the player overhaul. You brought him in knowing that, barring the unforeseen, and Willie Green was going to turn this thing totally around, you were going to have a coaching search.
And look, James Borrego interviewed for the Knicks job. He is highly thought of. He's going to be.
Let him go to the Knicks.
He did not, but he's going to be a head coach at some point. He's highly thought of in the NBA. But what I'm saying is, Joe Dumars said, you know what? I'm going to give this guy 60 games or whatever it was, 65 games.
The right thing to do.
Let's see what he's got. I think that was the right move. I'm not saying Borrego's the guy, but at least giving Borrego the chance with enough runway. Like, they didn't fire Willie Green with 30 games left when it doesn't matter. Right. They fired him with 65 games left. Willie Green wasn't the answer. Let's see if Borrego is. Let's give him enough space. Let's suspend disbelief. He says they're learning and the results are going to come. You know what? Maybe they do. Maybe the Pelicans win, go on an 8-game win streak. And Borrego becomes a legitimate question. I don't think that's going to happen. But let's at least give him a shot to prove us wrong. And that's what Joe Dumars did, and I agree with that.
Yeah. Charles says he thinks the Pels will turn it around in the second half. Define turning it around. If they win more than 25 games, I'll be shocked. I mean, that's where we are. All right, let's move on before I let you go. Obviously, I'm going to get your college football prediction before we go off the air, but got to touch on the NFL playoffs. And we got, I believe the game on CBS on your network, on your channel.
I'm not
one of the best. Bills in Denver.
I could care less about these kind of things, but the best game of the week is the Bills at Denver. For me personally, Houston at New England is the worst of the games, just because I find Houston so unwatchable. That offense is so bad.
Now you're pissing Gabe Henderson off in the green room.
The Houston-Pittsburgh game was just rough to watch. You can love Houston.
Gabe Henderson, Houston native and Texans lover. Close your ears. Doug did not say that. He doesn't mean to hurt your feelings. You can love them all you want, but they are hard to watch. That offense is no.
Anyway, so I love the Buffalo-Denver game. To me, is like one of the highlights of the NFL season. Like, I can't wait. I think that game is awesome.
That's a little strong.
Look. Is Sean Payton's team real? I'm
looking forward to watching it, but I actually think the Rams-Bears game is going to be the
Rams-Bears game is solid. And Caleb Williams has taken. You talk about a guy who has taken a step forward. He's taken like 15 steps forward.
Can't say he hasn't.
And makes some throws that are just
be interesting if he played well for an entire game and not just the fourth quarter. Because
sure. He's not a finished product, but man, he will occasionally. He's the savant that occasionally will do. Like, he'll look at the toothpicks and say 246 and be right. Like, he will have plays like that are like, where did that come from? But the Bills in Denver, the Bills in Jacksonville, I thought were the highlight of week one, and it was an incredible game and loved it.
You thought that game was the best of the entire weekend?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Better than Packers and Bears?
Well, Packers and Bears wound up being super entertaining, too.
Even Rams and Panthers, no one expected the Panthers to.
No, and the Rams and Panthers turned out to be a great game, too. But for me, the Bills and the Jags were, and it came down to the last minute. And, what Liam Cohen did in Jacksonville, the resurrection of Trevor Lawrence. I thought all of it was awesome. Yeah, Caleb Williams is definitely better with chaos. He is a chaos, and he induces chaos in a way that makes him crazy to watch.
By
Sorry, my predictions.
Okay, yeah. Hold on, before you give me your predictions, Charles, stop doing this to yourself. Stop. It's you're gonna have to get therapy if you keep talking like this. The Pels are only 7 to 8 games out of the play-in, and I'm only 7 to 8 pounds away from not being a complete fat slob.
No, but you're 7 to 8 games, but there are 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. There's 5 teams above you.
Stop doing that.
7 to 8 games when you have to pass 5 teams is the equivalent of 12 or 13 games of having to chase 1 team, because any of those teams get even a tiny bit hot. And there's 5 of them passing 5 teams.
0.
So, I mean, just math. I'm speaking pure math. You want to be behind 1 team, not behind 5. 7, 8 games behind 5 teams is enormous.
UBN says he's just $7 to $8 million away from being a millionaire.
Yeah, me too. I like Buffalo on the road.
All right.
Although, like I said,
they are now slight underdogs that changed since the last show.
I think San Francisco is going to have to come to the realization.
You like Seattle to win or to win and cover?
I don't know if I'd give.
I like that issue. If I give you
bet the money line,
100 fake Jim Derry bucks.
And I have to bet that? I can't just bet the money line?
No, you have to bet the spread in that game. I'm giving you 50 because I'm going to make you do it on another game.
I think at some point you have to – San Francisco is going to have to come to the realization that Brock Purdy, you're going to have a really hard time getting to the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy. Okay. And that's going to happen. Right. And they got so many guys hurt. San Francisco – I love Kyle Shanahan except for his belief in Brock Purdy, who I think is a good quarterback. But I think you got to be better than good to win a Super Bowl. And look at the other quarterbacks. He's not Josh Allen. He's not Drake May. He's not Caleb Williams. He's not Matthew Stafford. I don't think he's Sam Darnold. I don't think he's close to Sam Darnold. I don't think he's Bo Nix.
Sam Darnold's not going to even be the best quarterback in that game, not even close.
Yeah, right. Okay. I like New England at home to cover for sure. Okay. That actually might be my best bet because Houston's a disaster offensively. And I think New England wins that 21-6.
21-6. He's even making score predictions.
Yeah. Well, I was saying I think that's a 2-touchdown win for New England, and I feel strongly about that one.
Okay.
I don't bet my own.
So
money. Maybe I will on that.
Is that your best bet of the 4 games?
My best bet
is your best bet,
without question. Without question. I think Houston's a disaster, and the only reason they looked as good as they did is because Pittsburgh's a worse disaster. And then I would take the Rams and the points because I think it's going to be within.
No, you're not getting points. You're giving.
The Rams are
-3.5.
The Rams are given. Then I take Chicago and the points. Okay. I just think that's going to be within a field goal. I don't know who I would take in a money line, but I would take either one of those teams in 3.5 because I think that's going to be a field goal game.
Okay. So you like the Bills. You like Seattle. So you think it's going to be a Seattle versus Rams NFC championship. You think it's going to be New England versus Bills. That would be an interesting rematch. Bills at New England on CBS, by the way, on Channel 4 next week. That would be
Channel 4. That's great.
Yeah. All right. Final prediction before we go off the air. I teased that we would do it. I may or may not do it. I may tell the Pick'em guys are not going to be happy when I tell them they can't pick that game because we're going to all make it part of the Pick'em on Monday. I'm just telling them right now. So you cannot make that part of your Pick'em on Friday because we're all going to have a special Lanyap Pick'em on Monday when we pick the national championship game. But who is your pick? Indiana facing Miami, and the last I looked, and I got to be honest, I did not look this morning, but I don't think it's changed. Indiana 7.5 point favorite over the U.
I would take Indiana and give the points. I love that Indiana team. It is crazy good. Look, I have a Heisman Trophy vote, and I voted for Mendoza, and then I watched the 2 playoff games, and I went, oh my God, I was right.
All right.
And this guy is unreal. What he delivers in the spots, he's beautiful to watch. That team is unreal. My single favorite transfer portal, because it's a kid that I really like.
Oh, it's now 8.5, by the way.
8.5. I would still give it. I think they're going to win by 10 plus. Chaz Preston, who's a wide receiver on one of my favorite high school teams. St. James won state championship.
Yeah.
It was 19.
Tulane Green Wave.
They were 15-0, right? Chaz Preston was their superstar wide receiver, right?
Yeah.
St. James is not a big town. or sorry, not a big parish. There's not a ton of people, right? And he became, he's a 4-star wide receiver. And if you watch him, you see every bit of that, right? Goes to Alabama and winds up not actually ever catching a pass at Alabama. But a kid that I really pulled for who was great at St. James. Then he comes to Tulane and has this breakout year. He has transferred again, and he will be an Indiana Hoosier next year. And I cannot wait to see what Kirk Cignetti can do with this elitely skilled wide receiver from St. James. I cannot wait to see what Shaz Preston can do at Indiana next year. So anyway, that was my favorite because it's a kid that I like, from a high school that I pull for that I can't wait.
I got to meet his dad at the Tulane Duke game in the pregame. My wife actually ended up talking to him for a long time, and I got to say hello to him or whatever. So really nice guy. He was actually out there cooking with all the tailgaters and everything. Of course they are.
Yeah, of course. They're from the river parishes.
Yeah, exactly. All the river parishes, dudes. That's all they do is they cook.
That's and I guarantee you, whatever he was cooking was excellent.
Oh, right. It was phenomenal. So
it doesn't even matter. Anyway, what Kirk Cignetti has done at Indiana is just like it's a revelation. 60 Minutes did a story on him that I thought was great. That's just
he really is he's kind of a Saban clone with his personality, isn't he?
Sure, and look, just the guy that at 50 years old said, I want to be a head coach, and then went to the Indiana University of Pennsylvania, and then to Elon, a guy who is experiencing a career birth at 64. Like, look,
I think Indiana University at Pennsylvania, I think they call that Ooey Pooey.
Yeah, Ooey Pooey. That's where he was. Right. That's where his dad was. Yeah, there's just so many cool things about his story. But at my age, I love the guys that are having success, later in life and enjoying that success and reveling in that success.
He said on national TV, he goes, he just wants to go get a beer. I loved it.
Just wants to get a beer. Like that. Like
I love it.
And look,
give me a Schlitz, baby. I'm breaking
his own mold. Like he's the super serious, Google me. Like he's the super serious guy.
I know. To say that, I'm like, wow.
And at that moment, he's saying, would you just give me what he's saying?
Let me have a Schlitz, for Christ's sake.
Would you give me 5 freaking minutes to enjoy this?
I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Exactly. That's what he's saying. And he's 100% right. Give me 5 freaking minutes to go have a beer, and then we'll worry about my
he didn't want to talk to us.
It's beautiful. I love everything about that.
He didn't want to talk to. I gotta admit, I enjoyed that part. Chuck, when you see a super serious, no nonsense guy who didn't even smile, barely smiled when they finally won the game, they're going to national championship. He's like hardly smiling, and then he comes up with the "I just want to have a beer" line. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, there's more going on behind the surface. That
100%.
You know what I mean?
100%.
Like that, you get that about him. You know what? Nick Saban had a lot of that. Nick Saban, when he was at LSU, had a lot of lighter moments that the seriousness overshadowed.
Yeah.
And I think, anyway. So I love Indiana. I love what they've done. I love their prospects for next year.
Bill Belichick's actually funny when you're not talking about football.
He got his quarterback in the portal, and he's got Mendoza's little brother. I don't see any reason they won't be back next year. They have one of the top 10 transfer classes in college football, if you believe the transfer rankings. They should be right back in it. And I love to see what Preston can do in that offense because the receivers that are having enormous success right now, what I'm saying is those receivers were never as highly none of them were recruited by Alabama like Shaz Preston was. So I'm curious what Shaz Preston with an elite skill set can do.
I think maybe Shaz Preston plays against Tulane in the opening round of the playoffs next year. That would be interesting. I do have one last one, and you just give me a team here who is going to win the Super Bowl. We had the odds up on the screen. The Seahawks are the favorite. The 49ers are the long shot. I still say I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, but the Bears are good value at plus 1,600.
Bears are good value.
The Bills at 6.5 to 1, maybe. The Patriots at 6 to 1.
Yeah, see, the 49ers can't get there. Too many injuries, they're out. The Texans can't get there. Just horrible offensively. The Broncos, this is year 1, and I don't think you win it in year 1. I think you're right. I think the Bears are the best value because I think they got a shot out. I don't think they're going to get there, but that's good value. if you gave me $100 of Derry money, I would put it on Seattle. I know they're the favorite. I'd win the least, but I do think that's the best.
We even in fake money, now that we're independent, Doug, we don't have enough money to give you 100 fake dollars, so we only give you 10 Derry bucks here.
Well, if you give me 10 Derry bucks, you know what I might do? I'd put 8 on Seattle, and I'd put 2 on Chicago.
Okay, 8 on Seattle, 2 on Chicago. We'll see how that works out. We'll have you back, Doug, either right before
the Super Bowl. Well, if I gave you 10 bucks, are you willing to say where you'd put them right now?
Oh yeah, sure.
Change next week. Wait, $8. You can go 1 1 1 1.
I can put 1 on everybody if I want. No, I wouldn't do that. I'm just joking. If I had 10 Mouton bucks, I would put 2 on the Bears for value.
Yeah, me too. Right. Ooh, now I feel smart because you did it.
I would put 2 on the Bears for value, and I would probably put I'm going to go 1 on the 49ers for value, because I think that people I'm not buying all this crap. Okay. Then I would take the other 7 and who I think is going to win the Super Bowl at this point in time, and I would put it on the New England Patriots because I think they're the best team in football right now.
Yeah, what I don't like about the Patriots is that they're going to have to go through either the Bills or the Broncos, and I think both those teams can beat them. And especially if
they play the Bills, they're going to play them at home. If they want to play at Buffalo, I wouldn't like them as much. If they have to go to Denver, I don't give a damn. They'll
Well, that's why look. And I saw the Patriots at plus 600, and that's tempting. But I don't know if I love them this week. I'll tell you that. But I don't know if they can. And the Bills whereas I think Seattle is the best NFC team. Period. Right. And,
well, maybe we'll have you on again before the Super Bowl and get final picks. We'll see how it goes. But
whenever you want.
We're coming.
The only week that's tough is don't ask Mardi Gras week.
Oh, I won't be. No, Mardi Gras week, I'm off. I mean, I don't look. One thing about an independence, it's hard to take a vacation, but I'm taking a vacation that week. I do not work Mardi Gras week. So
there you go.
All right, there you go. So anyway, I will see you soon. Enjoy the game this week. Catch Doug Mouton's podcast show.
Actually, knew it just dropped.
Okay, just dropped. It's on WWL-TV Plus. You can find it. It's free.
Plus. If you got a smart TV, just type it in. It's free. And
it's free.
Crap load of shows on there,
and you can go back and watch the show with us from last week. And
you were good. You were very good on the show.
We
walked off, and I knew you'd be good because I've done this show with you. And we walked off, and Ross and I always talk behind the people's back when they walk off. And Ross said,
"Great,
so good." And when I told you,
behind his back, he just needs to lose like 80 pounds, but he's really good.
Yeah. Well, I could care less about that. But,
I'm just kidding. I've been on a diet. I
feel like 2026. I need to get sexier too. I feel like that's one of my goals in 2026.
I've been doing it, man. Last year I said I was going to do it. I'm only 2 pounds away from losing what I lost the entire year last year. So we're not going to be this. We're not doing
sexier. Let's do it.
That's right. Get sex. I don't know if it's going to be by the Billy Rainey draft, but maybe by the All-Star
that's
break.
Early. I'm saying by the beginning of June.
I mean, All-Star break. All-Star break. I'm going to look like that.
That's July, right?
All right. Well,
always spring training in Phoenix.
I know, man.
I've got Airbnb.
I'm thinking maybe next year because I've already spent my money on Endymion. This might be my last year in Endymion. I can't do both. I either got to do Endymion so it's
my
one of the
wife
other.
and I made this agreement. My wife rode in a parade, and I said, "Okay, you do that. I'm going to go to spring training, and it's about the same amount of money."
And spring training is absolutely on my bucket list, and it's.
Let me say that again. I will go to Phoenix for 6 days, 5 nights, see 4 games.
I'm jealous because one of them will be the Cubs.
At a beautiful Airbnb that has a swimming pool and a hot tub.
One will definitely be the Cubs.
And I will spend less.
I know you will.
Than you will on the Endymion ride. I'm not saying the Endymion ride is not amazing. But I'm saying
it is amazing. But you don't have literally hundreds of thousands of people screaming for you.
Let me say this: I get that every day.
Oh, that's true. People that watch the 5, 6, and 10 news, absolutely. All right, Doug Mouton, we will see you on the TV, and we'll see you back on here, Dattitude, hopefully sooner rather than later. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.
All right, I'm going to get some lunch.
All right, Douglas Mouton, everyone, owner of the Dugouts in the Billy Rainey League and the Finks Football League, and he whipped my ass in every way possible this year. I'm just going to say it. I mean, he did. So I mean, I did okay, and I had a good football year, lost in the playoffs, but baseball, I choked. I went down. I just choked. It's just, it is what it is. I choked. All right, we're moving on because I don't even know. Well, you know what? We're not moving on yet because when Gabe comes on in just a minute, we're going to get into the coach. Someone typed it into the comments. We're going to get right into the coaching odds. In fact, you know what? I'm going to take off the Super Bowl odds because we may bring it up. But before we get to all that, and we are running so long today, but we're having so much fun. Before we get to the rest of the show, let me tell you about our friends at Evangeline Securities. I told you I'd get back to them. And I am. Of course, they are a company that can help you decide if it's the right time to sell your family-run or privately held business. And just as importantly, they can figure out what that business is worth. If that's you, it's someone you know, someone you love, someone you know, I need to help this person. They are ready to get out of their business. They want to sell it. They want to know what it's worth. It's time to reach out to Evangeline's founding partner, Nick Braden. He will start by scheduling a complimentary valuation from his office, either on Poydras Street or in Lafayette. And from there, you'll be well informed, begin to make the decision on if you want to proceed. How do they do it? We just told you how they do it. They're going to maximize the return for the founder and his or her family. We already, we like to tell you every year. People, I saw someone say, don't use zero. You can't say 0.0 anymore. I can tell you what I 100% can tell you that I can use that for. Evangeline Securities, the top producer on their platform. There's none with their dedication and success. 0.0. They are fully licensed. They're ready to serve you. So get in touch with Nick about what's really important. Not how many fake dairy bucks you get, that's for sure. It's not going to be where Coach Gucci's going to land. No, you know what's really important? The rest of your life. You can find them at www.evangelisecurities.com. You know what time it is. It's that time. And Gabe Henderson is here before I get to what we're going to talk about this morning, this afternoon now. What's up with you?
Nothing. I'm just celebrating putting belt to ass.
Oh, God. You've been waiting for 2 hours to say that stupid shit.
I have. I didn't bring the belt this time.
Morning. Yeah, God. The dumbest, literally the dumbest current phrase in sports is putting belt to ass. And I think somebody said it earlier, and they're right. You can't even legally do that anymore. Put belt to ass. Yeah. Randall says the best show in a while. Well, what were the other ones? Chicken liver, chopped liver? What are you talking about, Rand? Just kidding. All right. I wanted to talk to you this morning about coaching playoff odds. Playoffs. And again, when I came on the air this morning, they had taken him off of DraftKings, which means maybe they know something. Maybe someone is about to get a job imminently. I don't know if that's the case or not, but I'm going to call it up here as live TV. They love when I do this on live TV. Next coach. The only one up on DraftKings right now is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it doesn't jive. It does jive actually so I had to use OddsShark, which I've used before. I think they're a good guide. They're fairly reasonable. We're going to go in no particular order, except when we talk about coaching openings. Obviously, the rumor this morning is John Harbaugh. That's not a rumor. That's actually true. John Harbaugh is meeting in person with the New York Giants. He is the clear favorite to be the next coach of the New York Giants. I think at this point, you and I would both be surprised. That's where we are. But I want to kind of start after that with the Atlanta Falcons. And you don't care so much if they screw it up, but I just think it would be so comical if they screwed it up. There are 4 names on this list. 2, I really hope they don't hire, and 2, they can have either one of those guys because I don't think either one of these guys is going to be a coach. Should be a coach in the NFL right now.
Let me guess. Can I guess one of them?
Absolutely.
Is it one Mr. Gucci?
Coach Gucci's on the list. He is 3rd on the list right now. The favorites to be the next head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, Clint Kubiak, by all means. Hire Clint Kubiak. I think he's overrated. I don't think he's going to be a good head coach. But what do I know? I've been wrong before, but no matter what, Atlanta's going to screw it up because they're Atlanta. Clint Kubiak, plus 285. Kevin Stefanski. I don't want them to hire Kevin Stefanski. I think he's a great coach. Mike McDaniel at plus 355, Coach Gucci. John Harbaugh, which is not going to get the job, is 4th at plus 425. Of those 4 guys, which one do you think has the best shot, or do you think it's someone else that's not on the board?
Well, considering when we made our picks a few weeks ago, or a few days ago, not a few weeks ago, I still have mine called up here. I had Kevin Stefanski as the guy. I still kind of think it'll be Kevin Stefanski.
Okay. That's the one I hope it is not, because I think that it's not going to be John Harbaugh. Of the three guys, Kubiak, Stefanski, and it's definitely not going to be Jim Harbaugh. Coach Gucci, I definitely think Stefanski is the best one of the bunch. Could he turn that mess of a franchise around? We'll see. But right now, those are your three favorites to be the next coach of the Atlanta Falcons. All right, again, no particular order. Next up, and we talked about this on Monday, the next Raiders coach. There's really only one name. He's not minus, so it's not like he's the super uber favorite. Mm-hmm. But there's only one coach that has better odds than plus 700. And if you don't know what betting means, plus 700 basically means 7-1. It means you would have to bet $100. If you bet $100 and you were right on plus 700, you would get $700 in return plus your $100 back. So with that being said, the only person that has better odds right now, it looks like the Raiders are the big favorite is Brian Flores at plus 245.
Interesting. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. That's one guy that I had on the list here.
He's actually on another team's list at the moment as well.
It's probably Baltimore.
It is not actually, but we'll get to that in just a minute. Okay. So look, it looks like Brian Flores is the leader. Again, that could change. But as we sit here on January 14th at 1:00, it is Brian Flores. All right. I find this one interesting. There's the two top names on the list to be the next coach of the Arizona Cardinals are not on anyone else's list. One of them was one of the top, one of the favorites to become the Saints head coach at the same time last year. He's on the Cardinals list.
And I guess the other.
And the other one is a graduate of Archbishop Shaw High School. How about that?
Oh, okay.
Who are the two Cardinals?
I thought Matt Burke would be one of them.
Matt Burke is not one of them.
Okay, interesting. Because
Vance Joseph is plus 400. Okay, but this is early. So plus 400 tells you they have no idea who's going to be the Cardinals coach. Plus 400 for Vance Joseph. In other words, also the Cardinals probably going to be later in the coaching cycle. I would also think. And Joe Brady is plus 500. So those are the two names that are. I won't do anything better than if they are more than plus 700. They didn't make the list. I'm not even putting them up here. So it's Vance Joseph,
Kubiak there.
Okay, well, still could be probably. Again, these are very early numbers. I think once you see Harbaugh goes to the Giants, that's going to start the domino effect. All right, moving on to the Miami Dolphins and replace the greatest coach in the history of shitty coaches, or something along those lines. The leader in the leader in the clubhouse. There is only one name that is better than plus 700 or worse, depending on how you look at it. And I got to be honest, I didn't even know who this guy was. I had to go look him up. I guess I should have known who he was. So
who is it?
It is Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley.
Yeah.
Plus 245. He is the favorite to become the Dolphins. And I find that all these teams that kind of go back and forth, if you had an offensive coach before, then you lean towards a defensive coach the next go around and vice versa. So I just found that interesting. I don't know anything about him, so I can't say anything.
Yeah, I had him, but obviously before some of these other jobs opened up, I had him as the favorite to land the Giants job. So
okay, well, I gotta say, I don't know. We'll see. And Randall wants to know: will anyone give Houston Texans coordinator Matt Burke a chance to be the next head coach of the? I'm going to say he is on the list further back, but there are reports that the Cardinals are going to interview him either today or tomorrow.
The Cardinals requested to interview yesterday.
All right, so that is a
I hope not.
Possibility. Next up on the list, the Tennessee Titans, and someone has emerged as a semi-favorite at plus 300. Coach Gucci's on the list at plus 520. Coach Gucci's on a lot of lists. He's actually the favorite of one of the remaining teams that we're going to talk about. But
I think I know which one it is.
Go ahead. Who do you think is the favorite to be the next Cleveland coach? But it's a plus 425. It's the same deal. They don't have any clue.
Yeah.
We're getting to Cleveland next. So, but who do you think is the favorite to be the Tennessee Titans head coach?
Oh,
it's someone who's already been a head coach.
Is it Mike McCarthy?
It is not Mike McCarthy, who is not on any of these lists, which I find interesting. Also interesting, Mike Tomlin's not on any of these lists. So
yeah, Mike Tomlin's not coaching next year.
Yeah, I don't think he is either. So I don't think he's going to coach. My son had this great rumor he heard from a friend of his who stayed with Mike Tomlin once and has pictures with him eating breakfast. Okay. And he told me he is going to coach this year. Well, I say he's not. Okay. Anyway, the favorite to become the Titans' next head coach, he's offensive minded. He's a former coach. He's a former coach of a team that is currently in the playoffs, still in the playoffs. He is a former Arena League quarterback. I don't know what else to tell you. He is the current offensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, it's Matt Nagy.
Matt Nagy is the front runner at plus 300. Become the next Titans head coach.
Please let that happen.
Coach Gucci is second at plus 525. That would be funny. Moving on to what you said about Coach Gucci being a favorite to be the Browns. Now, I don't get this next one. Coming in at plus 565 to be the next. This would be such a Browns thing to do. Okay. Again, I don't know this guy, so I'm not going to rail on him. No, Jim Schwartz is actually third, and
he's the defensive coordinator, and they want
right. He's the current defense, right? So I don't think that, but he's plus 800. He's the only name I put on there that's more than plus 700. I only put him on there because he's actually on staff right now. The Jaguars offensive coordinator Grant Udinski, but he doesn't call Liam Cohen's really the offensive coordinator. I don't understand why. Why would you think someone that's like thinking that the holder would be a good quarterback? From he's
one
former
of those
Saints
guys where a lot of teams have kind of earmarked him as the next big thing in coaching. That's why he's getting looks. So it would be a very Cleveland thing to do, but it could work if you that's
crazy.
UBN jokes here. May the Schwartz be with you. They want to keep Jim Schwartz, and if you take a shot on him with an experienced staff, I wouldn't hate it.
I wouldn't hate it either.
You're the Cleveland Browns.
He's terrible with Detroit. And he's certainly been a great coordinator.
No. I'm not saying Schwartz. I'm talking Grant Udinski.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see.
Take a flyer on him. Why not? You're the Cleveland Browns.
Take a flyer on him. You're the Browns. Who gives a shit? You stink anyway. All right, moving on.
A really good head coach.
We got 2 teams left. That's how many coaches we got going on here. Yeah. Who is the second favorite for the Steelers job is at plus 400, and that is if Flores doesn't get the Raiders job. Obviously, the Steelers would probably be interested in him. Yeah. But this is another name. I was surprised to see this on this list, to think that he possibly could be a head coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Who did you think it is? I think you know this one, right?
Is this an NFL? Is he currently an NFL coach?
He is not a head coach currently. He's got a very famous last name of former head coaches in the NFL. He is currently a defensive coordinator.
I don't know this.
Plus 190, which means he's. That's.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm
fairly significant favorite.
Kind of running out of name. I thought Marcus Freeman would get a look.
They have a history, obviously, of hiring young coaches that end up staying there forever.
Yeah, 34-year-old coaches who stay there forever. And I thought Jesse Minter might get a look, but I think Minter will end up with Baltimore if it's not Flores. So
the favorite to win the job for the Pittsburgh Steelers is Rams defensive coordinator Chris Shula.
Yeah,
another Shula. Yeah, the grandson of Don Shula. So, I don't know. There's been a lot of Shula coaches. Most of them have been, they've been successful. So why not? And then lastly, you just mentioned it. You are correct. The favorite to win the Ravens job at plus 245 is Jesse Minter, the Chargers defensive coordinator. I think that would be a decent hire. Clint Kubiak second, Stefanski a distant third. So interesting potential picks. Randall predicts that Coach Gucci will get a head coaching job somewhere in the cycle. Please, for the love of Christ, let it be the Atlanta Falcons. Let it be. And I don't care if we come back later and y'all throw it in my face, whatever. Please give me fodder on this show for at a bare minimum 2 years to come, because that dude's a doofus and he will screw up the Atlanta Falcons. I don't care if I'm wrong or not.
I don't think he's as bad a coach as you do. I think he's quirky as hell, and that shtick really gets old when you're not winning.
Yeah.
But I think he overachieved with a really bad roster.
I mean, he overachieved with a really bad. Remember when everybody thought that Tua Tagovailoa was going to be a really good NFL quarterback? Lots of people did.
Yeah. Remember when people thought Daniel Jones was going to be a really good NFL quarterback?
And he may end up being one.
Well, so here's the thing. McDaniel was obviously
in part, quarterbacks are only as good as their head coaches. I'm just saying.
So here's the thing. And UBN and I kind of talked about this yesterday. There are some coaches in the NFL who kind of inadvertently cut their nose off to spite their face. They have succeeded with such bad players that it ends up hurting them in the long run. I think Mike Tomlin is the best example of this. He's made the most out of his talent for so many years when the Steelers just needed a refresh, and I think they're finally there. You can look at, and I said this before the season, Brian Daboll with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones should not have gotten a $45 million a year contract, but Brian Daboll took him to the playoffs and had him playing so well. I think Mike McDaniel is kind of the lowest coach on that totem pole. I think
he's a dumbass.
He had Tua looking like a decent quarterback until they paid him. So it's weird. It's
a weird group. I'm gonna say this again. Quarterbacking to me is not fully, because you either have the talent or you don't. But sometimes you can have talent and look like shit when you're with a coach that's a moron, which just isn't that great of a coach.
You can also look like shit earlier in your career, and
you can also look good, and you're just not really that good, and maybe I don't know. So there's lots of things.
I mean, look at Sam Darnold's an anomaly.
Matt Ryan will keep him straight. The only thing I can say about Matt Ryan is 28-3. I mean, it's a fact. It just is. I don't know. So anyway, we're going to see with this coaching cycle. All right. We're going to talk more. I don't want to talk too much. I just had this slide up because I knew we were going to talk about the NFL. I don't want to get into the weeds too much about the NFL playoffs this weekend, because obviously we're doing our pick 'em. Did I ask you what game do you think is the best? Do you agree with that? Bills and Broncos would be the best game?
No,
I do too. I think it's a Sunday night game too. That's the one that I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah,
the Rams Bears. So we'll see. I don't know. All right, I will talk to you more on Friday again, as we got to do better. I mean, we got to do better. I mean, can we do any worse? I mean, I guess theoretically we could be a tinge.
I mean, hey, I will say this though, and I texted UBN this. I am so glad that people like Doug, and I almost guarantee this is going to be one of your picks as well.
Boy.
Patriots -3. I am so glad, because I completely disagree.
I know you do. You're
crazy. This might come back.
Let me just say. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
No. Go ahead.
Finish it. No, you finish your thought first.
Well, you.
I'm not going to be mean. I'm not going to be mean. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
You picked against me on Monday night, and
I did, and I was wrong. But it wasn't as bad as it ended up being, because the Steelers just at some point when they realized they were losing, I got to say, I'm so disappointed by a Tomlin team that completely said, and this is partly an Aaron Rodgers effect, which is a disease, it's a cancer. You've got to get off your team. I mean, anybody who wants Aaron Rodgers next year is a moron. I'm sorry.
Well, I know.
But hold on. But part of the reason why such a tight game that just turned into an absolute ass whipping, went from 10 in a matter of like 5 minutes. It went from 10-6 to 31-6 or whatever. I don't even remember what the final score. It doesn't make a difference. Whatever it was 10-6 until, like, I think early in the fourth quarter or late in the third, one of the two, till dumbass threw a pick six.
No, pick six was just the icing on the cake.
Oh, whatever. I'm just saying it was a really tight defensive struggle until very late. And so if they don't give up like that, it's a super tight game all the way through and whatever. But anyway, my point is, and again, I don't mean this to be mean at all. I really don't. It's why I hardly ever touch the Saints when we're talking about best bets. It is so damn hard to be non-objective, which is why we call this show Dattitude. I'm not trying to be objective when I talk about the Saints on this show,
which is why this game was
sometimes I am. But when you make a pick, when you're trying to make a pick on a team that you just live and breathe with, so to speak, it's hard to be objective. And so I don't deny your point about what you see. I think is probably you need to make that about 30% more where you can see through and see the other side. Yours, the opacity, when you put opacity on a graphic, and sometimes you'll make it like, we don't have one here on the screen, but I'll put this one up. Because the opacity on the Super Bowl odds, I can tell you, 70%. Is 50%. Okay? So you can actually kind of see through it a little bit. Okay. Yeah. So, but you need to make the opacity on how you see the Texans like 70%, somewhere around there. That's just my opinion.
Why?
You can't see through the other side. You think that?
When have I been wrong though? That's the thing. I've taken an approach. I mean, let's not forget.
You made a pick early in the year. I can't remember when you picked the Texans, but you stopped picking them, and I gave you shit when you picked them, and you were completely wrong. And I'll have to go back and look, but it was probably week 5 or 6, somewhere around there. I'm going back in my memory, and I made fun of you for making the pick, and you ended up being really wrong.
I can. If I had to guess, I probably picked them.
I don't remember exactly what week. I just remember doing it.
Jacksonville
might have been. I'll go back and look and find out.
But let's not forget. Let's not forget, going into this week, everyone was so sure that the Texans were going to beat the Steelers, and I was the one pushing back on it.
Yeah, but then you made it your best bet on Monday night.
No, I didn't.
Like, I do have a best bet.
I didn't make my
changed my mind. No,
my best bet was the over.
You had 2. You said I have 2. I quote, I have 2.
Okay.
You said I have 2.
Best bet.
It was your secondary best bet. It was.
But all I'm saying is, I'm so happy that everyone is counting out the Texans against the Patriots, because I think the Patriots are a very good team. I'm not discounting that. But to say the Texans have no chance in that game is insane. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think anyone here is saying
that. Doug said they have no chance.
Okay, well, I mean, Doug
said they have no chance to win that game.
No. You're not going to hear me say that the Texans don't have any chance. I told you the other day that, and they're no value now. I'll throw that slide up before we leave. There's no value in picking the Texans now at 850. That's no value. The Texans aren't winning the Super Bowl. The Texans, you want value in the Texans, you got to go back. What were they last week? Like plus 1,600 to go from 1,600 to 850 or whatever it was.
12. I think they were 12.
Okay, whatever. I mean, even then, I maybe slight value. If you play this whole playoffs,
they're a better value than the Broncos or the Bills.
I don't disagree that they're better value than the Broncos. The Bills, there's no ton of value there, but I bet I would if I had to bet one of the two, I'm absolutely betting the Bills.
Here's the thing with the Bills. Just trivia question, Jim. Do you know how many receivers the Bills have on roster right now?
I don't care.
No, take a guess. I want to hear you. Get 3. They have 3 healthy receivers. That's it.
They have Josh Allen. They have a quarterback that's not going to turn it over 5 times in a game.
And if the Texans beat the Patriots,
the Texans would have played anyone else and maybe not the Chargers. The Texans would have played anyone else besides the Steelers or Chargers this week. They're gone. Period. They're gone.
They would have beat the Patriots last week.
You're insane.
How?
You think that team that CJ Stroud turned it over 5 times?
Oh, no. Because Drake May had the same exact performance.
Yes.
Drake May had 2 fumbles and a pick too, Jim.
I don't give a rat's ass how many turnovers he had. Aaron Rodgers threw a pick 6. That team that played, that CJ Stroud that played on Monday night, 0.0 chance they beat the New England Patriots. I'm not saying they can't beat Drake May.
The CJ Stroud who played on Monday night was just as bad as Drake May. He actually had a higher quarterback rating.
I don't give a rat's ass what his quarterback
rating.
You need to take those rose-colored glasses off.
We're only talking about one. That's all I'm saying.
I don't care, huh? That was one of the worst quarterback performances I've seen in a playoff game in a long time.
And what do you have to say about Drake May the night before?
It wasn't great, but it was fine. It was just fine.
The same thing. He fumbled twice and had a pick.
He fumbled twice and had a pick. They had 5 turnovers. CJ Stroud was awful. He made like 3 good passes, and the rest of his night was absolutely horrible.
Have 5 turnovers?
What? How many turnovers? They only had 3 turnovers?
They had 3.
No, I think it was more than 3. Look it up.
No, it wasn't, Jim.
Look it up. Look it up.
I guarantee you. I know. I watched every snap of that game. They had 3 turnovers. He fumbled twice and had a pick.
Randall's on your side, so you know that's wrong. And
Drake May was bad.
He likes the Texans and he likes Denver.
I don't like Denver. But all I'm saying is there's been a narrative. Everyone is bagging CJ Stroud. He was bad, yes. Drake May was just as bad, and you haven't heard a peep about it. He had 2 fumbles.
You have heard of people about it. Actually, I watched shows yesterday with talking about how bad he was yesterday. I watched 2 shows that talked about how bad he was yesterday. Now he still wasn't as bad. I don't care what. I would take a poll from people, and look, most of the people that watch this show watch the whole weekend. I don't think you're going to find more than you and maybe Randall who think that Drake May was worse than CJ Stroud.
I never said he was worse.
Okay.
I said he was
I
just
think
as
you
bad.
might find you and Randall who think you were the same. They weren't the same.
Other than the turnovers, CJ was fan. I know
I've defended CJ Stroud multiple times, and I think he's obviously a better quarterback than what he played on Monday night. I'm just saying
and I think Drake May is too.
Okay.
But they had these same games.
They both played the exact same game this weekend.
They did.
New England win. I'm talking about this weekend. If they both play the exact same game they played last weekend, New England will win they will roll.
100%
they will win
disagree.
easily. They will win easily.
100%
It'll be now the under would absolutely be the play because Houston won't score. Houston won't score if they play like they played on Monday night. They will not score a single point if they play like they played this past Monday night.
Okay. I'm not going to let this slide. I'm not going to.
Okay, I'm not. Here we go. I'm not going to.
CJ Stroud has always been bad in the playoffs. EBN. That's insane. That is someone who has not watched the games.
I don't know. Let's say it's playoff game log. I mean, we really need to go because we've been on too long. But I think this is funny. All right, his post game log. Okay, well, let's see. Let's go to playoffs here. Playoffs. All right, it's playoffs totals. He's played in 5 playoff games, 3-2. His completion percentage is 66%. He has thrown for 1,226 yards divided by 5. I don't know what that. That's pretty decent. I mean, that's if you extrapolated that out, and we don't do this, but if you extrapolated that out to a 17 game average, it would be 4,100 yards. That's a lot of yards. He's been sacked 14 times. That's a lot. His rating is 97. His yards per game, it's 245 per game, which is decent. So, I mean, I guess you can't say he's been absolutely terrible in the playoffs.
Bad playoff game the other night.
Playoffs. Yep. If he plays like that again this week, he's going bye-bye. Ryan says the Patriots win 6-3. Oh, if that's the case, then don't bet it because you're going to be playing for a push.
It's not going to be in my best bets anyway.
I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be. I mean, we only got 4 games to choose from. It's going to be really hard. In fact,
I guess with only 4 games.
After this week, we have to open ourselves up to like
prop bets and stuff.
Prop bets and stupid stuff like that, which I hate, but I don't think we have a choice unless you just want to make 2 bets or you want to take 2 sides and an under or whatever. I don't know. I do think it's going to be, look, this whole playoffs, no question, has been interesting. Stuff that we don't think is going to happen is going to happen. That's why I don't give, unlike last week where, I mean, I don't think you can give anyone a 0.0. I mean, you just can't. I don't think you give anyone, I don't think you can give anyone less than like a 35% chance. There isn't a single, including the 49ers. I don't think there's a single team that you could say they have less than a 35% chance of winning on this weekend.
If I were forced to pick a team that I absolutely do not think would win the Super Bowl, I think Denver would be my first choice.
Yeah, you know what? That'd probably be my first choice too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but they are a 1 seed. I mean,
they are.
It wouldn't be, I don't know. It'd be close. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, maybe we'll do something with futures this weekend. Maybe we'll get some fake bucks and see if anybody wins any money. That's a good idea. All right, UBN, prepare yourself. We're going to do that this week. We're going to have fake Derry. I'm going to give you each. All right, I'm cheap. So we're each going to get 20 fake Derry bucks. I want to see if anybody wins any money. So prepare yourself for that. UBN wants to know. I don't know. I mean, were you really answering? I mean, you think he's going to say Drake May? I mean,
no, the answer is Drake May.
Oh, you would start Drake May.
Yeah.
You would rather Drake May over.
Listen, I will defend CJ Stroud, but I'm not blind. Drake May's been phenomenal this year.
I mean,
there are very few quarterbacks that I would take over Drake May if I'm starting a franchise.
All right, me too. I agree with you. All right. Anything else now that we've got our, they say that when you get fired up, now I might have to give him real Derry bucks. He just UBN's giving me money here. UBN is giving the show money, $20. Thank you, UBN, for the super chat. You get 20 Derry bucks, and you're going to have to figure out what you're going to use them on. I will say, supposedly, here we're bringing up they again. They say that if you get fired up, it helps your metabolism. It helps jack up your metabolism, which I'm trying to do right now. So I'll give an update on Friday, but I've done way better in the diet department than I've done in the picks department. The picks department has been absolutely
worse than the picks
horrendous,
especially if you're UBN or I.
We're going to turn that around on Friday, I promise.
Hopefully. And
who knows? Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll get you. Maybe I'll figure out how to get you all fired up. I don't know. Charles, thank you so much for the super sticker, $5. We thanks to all for the donations. Go ahead.
Before we ran long, I had an idea because you got a little fired up earlier talking about Chris Olave. So what I wanted to do for a quick exercise, and
you're right.
We're not going to do this, but we can shelve it and use it another day. I wanted to very quickly run through you and I teams that he would be a wide receiver 1 on, and I think it would be more than half the league, but I'm not sure. That's just my guess.
That's a pretty interesting exercise.
So what my idea for it is I figured we could go through and just name a team, like starting in the AFC North. I would say Pittsburgh. You would say yes or no. I would say yes or no. And then if we disagree, so I would tally the yes or no. And then if we disagreed at the end,
let's do it Monday. No, Monday. Let's do it Monday.
Okay.
Put that on the docket for Monday.
So then if we disagree on one, my thought process was we can take all the ones we disagree on at the end. So say we had 8 and we could cut that number in half. So we could say 4 more yes, 4 more no.
Right. Yeah.
That'll be a fun, quick exercise.
Yeah, I think we'll do it. Apathy, I completely disagree. And maybe because I've been on the other end of Sean Payton's kind of just being an asshole.
I made him look like an asshole.
Kind of thing. I mean, he looked like a douche to me.
For no
Payton,
reason.
And by the way, for those listening who can't see the comment, Apathy says Payton telling off that reporter about Greenlaw coming down in the run game was hilarious. I don't think it was. I mean, why do you need to degrade someone?
Why are you insulting someone else's intelligence? You're basically saying, I know football, you don't.
And I go back to the worst one I saw, and I've talked about this one before, but it bothered me how Payton talked to me. It's not as bad as it used to be, and it wasn't even the stuff that he told me. But like, one time he degraded Cat Terrell. And that one really rubbed me the wrong way. Like, I'll write a blog about it. I mean, just kind of the way he, say stupid crap of, I'm sure many Saints fans remember the Brandon Browner game when he just was absolutely, should never sign Brandon Browner. That was completely un-Payton-like pick. Brandon Browner against the Panthers, who just had like 4 penalties and just let Cam Newton go off against the Saints. It was one of the 7 and 9 years, and he after the game talked about how Brandon Browner was fine, and he was just full of crap. So I mean, there's just so many things. I mean, I don't know. Don't get me started on Payton. That's a whole nother show. Why I think?
I think it's. I think if you ask a silly question or a stupid question, I get it, but it was a valid question.
Exactly.
And it was really setting Payton up to be able to talk up Dre Greenlaw. So I don't understand getting.
And the one I'm talking about with Cat Terrell, and I bring up Brandon Browner because it was on that. She basically asked him, and he knew it was coming, and so he was ready for it. And what did he think about Brandon Brown's performance? Brandon Brown was fine. Go write a blog about it. Give me a break. Ryan, I knew what you meant. He said he likes the wide receiver 1 game. We are going to play that on Monday, so definitely hold on to that. We will have fun. So join us, but we got a show before we get to Monday, so I will see you on Friday for the Pick'em, where we absolutely 100% promise. And like they say on Stranger Things, friends, what do they do when they make a promise, Gabe?
I don't know. I don't watch Stranger Things.
No, you don't watch Stranger Things, okay?
No, I don't.
They honor their promises. So we honor our promises here on this show, and we will not get mad at each other.
We're not mad at each other. We disagree. We're not mad at each other, though.
All right. I will see you Friday.
Sounds good.
All right. That is going to wrap it up for us on this super long. This is the longest show we've had since we had the Brian Kelly fire, and that show went 3.5 hours. I knew today was going to be long. I didn't think it would be that long. Every time Doug comes on, I told you this already. Every time Doug comes on the show, it ends up being a Doug and Mike Detillier. If Doug's on the show, Mike Detillier is on the show, you know it's going to be a long one. But I don't want to cut him off because we're having fun. I mean, that's the one good thing about a podcast, whatever you want to go, internet show, whatever you want to call it. It's not like you come on. Yeah, I want to come on at 11 because that's when we said we're going to come on. But you don't have to go off at 11:30 or noon or 12:30. Now, if we ended up being on someone's TV network, which who knows, maybe might happen one day. You would have to, even if you wanted to go long, you would have to say, okay, that's going to end it for our viewers on channel X, but we're going to continue to go on the internet. Whatever. Now I'm just rambling. I said it. It's going to wrap it up for us on this Wednesday, and by God, it will wrap it up on this fun Wednesday. I want to thank today's guest, of course, Doug Mouton, Gabe Henderson, and you, and thank UBN and Charles Mangus for the donations. We're so happy that you're part of it. Again, I told you, I promised you, friends don't lie about they keep their promises. I told you that we would have memberships by the end of the week, and by God, I'm going to find a way to do it. So I'll work on that. And tomorrow, Friday, the Pick'em crew will be here. I'm expecting Zach Ewing. I've not confirmed with him yet, but I expect Zach Ewing to be on Friday. A reminder to subscribe to our Dattitude YouTube page. Click the little bell to receive notifications. You will always know when we go in there live. It's generally Monday, Wednesday, and Friday live at 11 a.m. Central Time. You can also find us wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, and many more. Everyone have a great, we're at Hump Day. It only gets better from here. I'm telling you, it only gets better. When you made it to Hump Day, baby, that means the weekend's right around the corner. It means all the NFL games are right around the corner. And it means you're coming back Friday for the Pick'em. We will see you then. Everyone, take it easy, my friends.